Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's January 1-year anniversary of Neo Positivity's Thoughts Becoming Things Summit. I'm trying to get this applause box. You guys know how I like to do. This is the hottest Law of Attraction Summit around. We chop it up campfire style. For 13 years, I've been interviewing one coach at a time, gathering their best Law of Attraction tips and secrets, and now the master plan. Interview a bunch of them at the same time. Normally it's a tennis match going back and forth with great ideas. Every now and then the balls collide and birth another idea. And we use it to improve our lives. Now you got all of us throwing ideas at each other. And I love it. It's going to absolutely be amazing. I want to start to bring people on one at a time so you guys can see. Kimberly Harms. Kimberly, how you doing today? We got to get you unmuted. DJ, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
There we go. Kim, you get your mic on yet?
I'm doing great. Yes. Sorry.
Nice. We got the infamous Catherine Itel Bell.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be with you.
Mic on yet?
I'm doing great. Yes. Sorry.
Nice. Infamous Catherine Itel Bell.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be with you.
Somebody is echoing. Somebody has to go in the background. I believe it's Elise. There we go.
Okay.
And Dr. Mona Patel is going to be joining us as soon as she gets her camera and audio.
My audio is great. Hi, everyone. I'm working on my camera. I'm having Wi-Fi issues, but I am here. So just give me a few seconds, minutes, but I'm going to manifest this and you will see my face.
Manifesting kings and queens. That's what we got going on here. Give it up for everybody. Like I said, we're just going to be bouncing ideas off each other. I'm not going to sit here and tell you for 20 minutes how great I am and how many books I've written, and then spend another 20 minutes telling you, no, I'm not talking about type of thing. I want to jump right in. We're talking about law of attraction practices and the things that have been helping. And then spend another 20 minutes telling you, no, I'm not talking about type of thing. I want to jump right in. We're talking about law of attraction practices. And everyone mute? Spend another 20 minutes telling you, no, I'm not talking about type of thing. I want to jump right in. We're talking about. Can everyone mute your mic? Can everyone mute? There we go. Yeah, I think this is what's happening. If you guys want to comment and you want me to put your comments up on the screen like so. Oh, I love it. Hashtag, what does it say? Yes, we love Neo Positivity. Hashtag that. Hashtag that 100%. We love Neo Positivity. We love positivity, all that other stuff. So, the link is going to be on all of the platforms, all the pages. It's going to take you to anywhere outside of the group, basically, because the Facebook group is private. When you comment there, it won't send it here, so we can't see it. We can't put it up on the screen. So I'm having my staff post up the link to the YouTube. So go over there, comment. You comment there, I'll be able to bring it up on the screen. We're going to talk and enjoy the day. And I want to start off with my latest and greatest mental exercise. Getting. Now, let me back up a little bit. I have something called poison words. Poison words are words that I just don't want to use. If I say I can get this, I'm manifesting the future 1 week from now where I'm saying I can get this again, which means I haven't gotten it. So that's a poison word for me. I will. I hope. It's good to have hope, but to say I hope leaves you with a future where you're saying I hope again, which means you haven't gotten it yet. So those were all poison words to me for years. This year, I opened myself to using the word can in the form of, yeah, I can run a multi-million-dollar corporate company. I can. I can succeed in this. I can get that. And it's a good confidence type thing. So I'm a fan of using can in that way. That caused me to open up and start using getting. Now, you guys all know that I am a huge fan of Lamborghinis, and my Lamborghini is basically in the mail on its way. So for me to say, I'm getting a Lamborghini, the ego has to step back. It's not hitting me yet. It's going to hit me eventually. But it's not hitting me yet and say, no, you're not. Because if I said I have a Lamborghini, it's going to kick me and say, no, you don't. And it's going to give me a picture of my front driveway with no Lamborghini in it. And so I'm getting a Lamborghini. I'm getting this job. I'm getting the promotion. I'm getting healthier. That does something else. You're watering a different set of seeds right there. And the ego allows you to sit in it long enough to vibrate at that frequency. And any two things that vibrate at the same frequency, you and that scenario will naturally pull towards each other. I like to picture if you laid a bunch of coins out on the table, okay? And you're right in the middle. You represent the middle coin. And that Lamborghini is the coin all the way on the edge. Now, when you start to vibrate at the same frequency and it starts to pull towards you, all the other coins around it are shifting, even a tiny bit. And that's the phone calls that are getting made, the people that are talking and interacting and all this other stuff. And the next thing you know, you're at the coin and you're experiencing that manifestation. You're all doing it right now. You are a result of your previous thoughts. So right now, being in this room, listening to us, is you at that middle point. And so when you think of it like that, and you're watering a seed, I'm getting that Lamborghini. You're vibrating at it, at that energy. Next thing you know, it's there. It's in front of you. And I love it. I got that from The Science of Getting Rich, a book that I didn't even know existed until a couple weeks ago. You guys know I'm not a big reader, but absolutely life-changing. Untethered Soul is another great book. That book taught me not really a mental exercise, but to be able to see my thoughts like children clamoring for my attention. Hey, look at me. What if they didn't answer because they're not interested anymore? What if this person, what if Catherine didn't email you back because she's just not messing with you like that? You know, that's a funny story. I'll tell you guys real quick. But those thoughts, you gotta see them just like children clamoring for your attention. You just shoo them away because they're just trying to take you from the moment. You want to stay at the moment, in this moment, present, enjoying life. Funny thing, I'll tell you a story real quick. Catherine, let me make sure I'm keeping the time. All right. No, I met Catherine. We had a great vibe. Matter of fact, I want to bring you up Catherine. Let's say hi real quick. Unmute.
Hi, Neo. I love this story.
It's great to have you on here. Thank you. It's a blessing.
Great to be here.
I met Catherine in April after having the craziest weekend of my life at Smiles at Sea, just meeting so many people, and it was just insane. And her energy was high vibration. She was all about the law of attraction, and we connected. I met her husband Tom, and we were just like chatting it up. Great. She's like, "Yo, take my email, get with me. I'd love to go live with you." And I'm like, "Cool." So as soon as we left in April, I emailed her, and she didn't email me back. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to the next event in October. I'm not going to pitch the issue. I'll see her there and we'll talk and I'll try again. And I saw her in October, but there was someone on stage and I saw her, went over, I gave her a hug real quick and then, no disrespect to the person. So we just watched. I didn't see her again for the rest of the event. And so I'm like, oh man. So I saw her again on a virtual event in January. Shout out to Vanessa Emerson and Jumpstart. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do the live stream. She's like, yeah, I want to come to the live stream. I want to do the summit. And I'm like, wow, she's awfully enthusiastic. She could have emailed me back. We could have done this months ago. And I just, after I got done talking to her during the summit, I went and clicked and I looked at my emails. And I spelled her name with a C. So instead of a K. So she never even got the message. And it was just like, that was a huge eye-opener to me. Like, I can't, I don't know if it's pride, I don't know what it is. I gotta pursue things more, sometimes. I gotta not just assume that me and her were talking about this in the live stream. I can't just assume that one narrative happened. The worst case scenario is the one that happened. I should have looked at different avenues. I thought I had it covered because it's like, all right, she definitely got the email. She's either busy or, I ran all the scenarios based off of her definitely getting the email. It's just like a life lesson. You push forward for what you want as opposed to just popping it once. So yeah, thank you for that, Catherine, that experience and that whole thing. When we went live on this, you went in full detail. You did a great job. Is there anything you want to add on to that part of pursuing your dream, as far as searching different avenues, or more or less, not letting the one narrative be the one you believe in immediately?
Yeah, I think, Neo, that we tend to go to the worst case scenario, and that becomes the truth, instead of us really generating the practice of that's a truth or it's one truth. There could be many possibilities. And so, it's no big deal if the outcome was, if you got the outcome you wanted, but when you didn't get the outcome you were hoping for, then I think it's just us having the discipline of saying, well, one way it could have gone is that she got the email and she's really not as interested as she seemed. What could be another possibility? Well, another possibility could be that maybe she didn't get the email. Maybe it went into spam, or maybe I misspelled her name, or, whatever. And so I think it's just all of us in this heightened awareness that we're living in, just to remind ourselves. I mean, thank you for that reminder, because I didn't give you that lesson. Law of Attraction gave you that lesson, and it was a good, because I didn't even know what was going on until 2 days ago. I think it was a good reminder for me too, to just not, rest in the first story that we make up and assume that's the truth. There's always so many other possibilities. So thank you for that.
We got some Facebook users co-signing about the emails, people not getting back to you. It's kind of the same thing with phone calls. Like I see this with relationships all the time. A guy misses a phone call, or a guy calls his girlfriend and she doesn't answer, and he calls me wondering if something's wrong. And I'm like, well, did you do something? Like, why would you jump to that conclusion automatically? Did you recently do something? You got caught or something? But yeah, there's so many different scenarios as to what could happen. Why key in on the worst one? That's just not where we want to go with it. So be better and do better, for yourself. We're going to get rocking and rolling with our first speaker of the day. Like I said, big campfire. All right, we're going to just chop it up. But there's going to be certain times where we give the mic to one person to answer the famous two questions. How do you use the law of attraction, and what has it done for you? Coming up first, we have Dr. Mona Patel, very special person to me. We just met recently, but because of the vibrational frequency, like everybody else in this group, because of the vibrational frequency that we were vibing on, it was instant. We identify as two people that are consciously, this whole group, that are consciously taking effort out of our day to make ourselves sharper mentally in the meditative state, as far as staying calm, in the manifesting state, as far as getting what we want as in life, and joy. When you're sitting on the sofa on a commercial break and you doze off into whatever daydream, you're smiling instead of anything else. And that's what I love about this group of people. And Mona she spoke some languages, man. When I say she speaks my language, that's a literal sense. Everybody, please welcome Dr. Mona Patel.
Oh, hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here because I almost wasn't due to the Wi-Fi issues that I'm having right now. But, I'm just really excited, and I want to quick touch on something that is so important that you said, when oftentimes fear and fear of being rejected or not belonging makes us think the worst thing. Right? If someone doesn't get back to us, we project it on ourselves and think that there's something wrong with us. And in reality, maybe that person is going through something and there's something going on with them, or, stuff happens. But we have to break that habit of thinking it's us and we're not good enough and we're rejected, or, they're not interested. So I just wanted to, because that just happened to me the other day. And so, it's like, and then it's like, oh, wow, that poor person is going through so much. No wonder she forgot to reach out. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Now you got the two questions. How do you use the law
Okay.
of attraction, and what has it done for you?
So for me, the law of attraction is all about visualizing what I want from life. What I have realized is that we have the power, we have the control over what we think, and what we think becomes our reality. So if I'm going to think thoughts that are happy and joyous, and in my heart, I meet everyone and everything that happens with joy and compassion and celebration, that's what comes to me. Um, it's just a belief I have, and I see it day in, day out that happens. And how do I do that? How do I become joyful every day? It's a conscious choice, right? I start my day off with meditation. I start my day with an intention for the day. What do I want from this day? Sometimes I just want a totally unscheduled day. So I ask for a day that flows and I'm totally surrendered to it and it will come to me. Or some days I have to be productive and I ask for that day to be, I help with being productive and focused. And that's with that intention, that's what happens. And that's the energy I attract. There's a lot of things that I do to let go of energies that make me doubt myself or make me feel less than. A lot of that is meditating. A lot of that is, I don't know if you guys have heard of nonlinear movement. It's where you just move. You know, we're so used to sitting and moving a certain way, and we do actions with these precise movements, right? Especially dentists, right? So non-linear movement is the way that you just move your body to how you feel. And you can put any old music on, so I have a few favorite songs. It could be anything, but you move your body in a totally different way that you normally would move. And a lot of our emotions, our mental state try and process emotions, but actually our body is really good at processing emotion. And if we listened and connected to our body more, we could actually get a lot more processing of those feelings through our body. So that's what I do. I'll do 10 minutes of non-linear movement. It could be just jumping up and down. It could be stupid dances. Like, when you're a kid and you're doing like the shakes and all of that stuff, it's like so fun. And I actually do that. When I was practicing, I did it with my team, and it was like so great to switch your state, but when I do that, I feel totally free to meet the day or meet people with a positive energy, and that shift allows me to attract good things in my life.
It's crazy. I want to touch on something DJ said. People aren't thinking what you think they're thinking about. Quick story. I was at my other house. I was doing a summit, and I looked across the street. My neighbors were older. I'm gonna say like 82 and 86 across the street, and I just looked over and I was like, I wonder what they're doing. As I know they ain't watching the summit. They probably sitting on the sofa just enjoying Florida life. And right when I said that, they pulled in and turned into their garage, and I'm like, wow, I was totally wrong. For one, I thought I was dead on with my little assumption. But I realized something in that moment. If I am to manifest a future or a current moment, I should say, where people or everyone around me, all of my neighbors are watching the summit. They're like, oh, wow, Neo lives next door. If I'm going to manifest a future like that, I can't look at my neighbors and say, they don't even know about the summit. They probably watching TV. That's the wrong mentality. And obviously I was 100% wrong with that. So if whatever it is you're looking for in life, those kind of situations, you have to see it as though it already happened. Not to get all preachy, but Mark 11:24, whatever you believe in prayer, believe that you already have it and it will be yours. So when you go to walk into that meeting, and I love this, you walk into a meeting and you're like, yeah, I'm going to impress the hell out of these people. By the time I leave, they're going to know my name. Back up and walk in a room like they already know your name and they're already impressed. Go in there with that presence, and that's how you jump on top of those kind of situations. DJ, something you want to throw on top of that?
Well, I've just found that. So I'm a teacher. I've been married for forever, 43 years. And even being with my husband as long as I have, I'm still wrong half the time. And so I'll get all mad because I think, oh, he's thinking this, or he shot me a look. And it wasn't at all what I put on him. I assigned this emotion to him. I've had that with parents when they come in, want to talk about their child, and they say something or whatever, and I assign an attitude or a thought process to them that is really wrong. And so when you really look at like Stephen R. Covey's thought about look first to understand, let's throw out those assignments and really listen to what they're saying and ask, questions that'll help you come to a more correct answer. And I have found that by doing that, life gets a lot easier.
The seek to understand, right? Seek to understand first. Yeah, before you make any assumptions. And I read The Four Agreements by Don Louis, yes, and it's like, that is the most amazing book, right? It is, it's don't make assumptions about what other people are thinking. Don't judge. If we meet people from a place of non-judgment, oh my gosh, our conversations are so much better.
I don't know, Mona, I don't know if you heard, but if you can comment on the YouTube link, I'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
I see you comment in the private comment, but I can't bring that up on the stream.
I'm streaming I'm doing this on my phone, and I'm trying to do YouTube too, because I don't have any Wi-Fi right now. So.
All right, yeah, I didn't want to miss your comment. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
Catherine said something that's very interesting. She loves the idea of insisting on joy and being connected to our bodies as a guide for life. Now, when you say that, are you talking about listening or feeling a specific feeling and using that as a key to wake up and think something else?
Well, I was just bouncing off of Mona. First of all, Mona's got the most beautiful hair of any human being I've ever seen on the planet.
Wait a minute.
So I am totally coveting your hair. It's gorgeous. She's a gorgeous.
Manifested.
Yeah, manifested inside and out. No, I was just bouncing off of, I loved when you talked about, joy being at the center of your intention, and how you use your body to, almost drive that when you're not actually feeling it. I think I think we forget how powerful movement can be. That's Neo and I talked yesterday or day before yesterday about, how much I don't know why, but getting out in nature and being out on a physical walk really gets me almost instantly connected to this vibration that I want to be in. So I think it's similar to that. I also heard
Absolutely.
a funny meme yesterday. I have a friend who lives in Michigan, and we knew each other as childhood friends from Texas. So we're warm weather girls. And, but she lives in Michigan, so she's like covered in snow all winter long, and she doesn't like it. And she posted a meme that said, if you look outside your window and you see snow and you don't feel joy, the only thing you've succeeded in doing is living a life without joy, and you'll still have the same amount of snow. And she said, I'm going to blow this up and put it around my house on every window. And I thought, it's so like what you're saying, like deciding to feel, feeling joy is a decision most of the time.
It is. It's a conscious decision. And going out into nature, I know so I don't drink coffee or tea anymore in the mornings. I drink cacao because it suits my body better, and it's such a great heart opener as well. So I make my cacao, and I take joy in shaving the cacao, whisking it into my milk, but then I take it outside, I put my feet in the grass, and I drink it. And I feel so good because I'm totally in the present. And that's from someone who spent all her years doing, and waking up one day realizing I'm just really not connected to anything that I've achieved. I've got everything here, but I'm not connected to it. I don't feel anything. You know, I've got a beautiful family, I got an amazing husband, I got an amazing practice, I've got an amazing house. On the outside, I look like I have everything, but there was no connection, there was no joy. And so I made a decision to start that journey of how do I start to feel that? And mine totally started with meditation. I meditate in the morning and the afternoons, and it makes a huge difference in my life. Yeah.
Meditation is, I mean, it's everything. I can't say enough about it. Out of all the mental practices, I mean, it's the most kind of dull, I guess you can say, when you're just trying to stay present, and it's a little harder to successfully complete if your neck is on fire. But it's everything, because if all of your mental exercises are just you thinking a specific way, and meditation allows you to think a specific way, I mean, do the math. That's how important it is to life. And meditation allows you to think a specific way. Somebody's got to mute. Do the math. That's how important it is to life. I think that might, Kimberly, that's you. We lost Kimberly for a second. I'm gonna get Bridget on here. She's real cool. She's real great with the law of attraction. But Mona, I wanted you to dip a little bit deeper into exactly how. Because one thing about meditation, people hate it when I talk about meditation because they hear such great things, but they don't know exactly how to do it or what they should be doing. So when you first slip into meditation, where your intention is, what you do, and then when the ego kicks in, what you do. Rinse and repeat, or however the process goes.
How does it? Yeah. So for me, I struggled with really meditating because, you know, I thought like, oh, I had to be like in a completely different headspace. I have to sit a certain way. I have to like clear my mind. And it's very sort of like, you know, I had to be like the monks, in Tibet, and like sit and all of that. And I read this amazing book, Stress Less, Accomplish More. By Emily Fletcher. And when I read this book, it opened up my mind to understanding that we don't have to do everything in perfection, right? So everything we do has to be perfect. So now I'm trying to learn how to meditate and I have to be perfect at it. No. So what she taught me, when you read the book, you actually understand the why behind it and how to get into that state. But you could be sitting in a chair in your office. You find an empty conference room and you sit. And you can sit back and you can breathe. And as you breathe, thoughts are going to come to you, right? That's normal. But we're taught with meditation, you can't think. Well, if I told you, don't think of an elephant, what pops up in your mind? An elephant, right? So if you say, don't think, you can't have a thought, thoughts are going to come. But what we want to do is allow those thoughts to come in and say hello and goodbye. Acknowledge them and say goodbye. And as we do, we start to create that stillness for ourselves. And when we do that, we create that stillness, we suddenly start to just be. How much time do we spend with noise all around us? Everything's always noisy. There's people around us, social media, TV, radios, everything's always going. And we've got a voice in our head that's going, oh my God, you didn't do that right. That's your gremlin voice, right? It's like, you could have done that better. You could have done that better. Oh, I have to do this. And you never are in stillness. And what meditating and understanding that you don't have to be perfect, which is what she teaches you, and to acknowledge the thoughts that fly in, let them go. It's such a release. So that's one thing. I would really recommend looking up Emily Fletcher and her book and her Ziva technique. That's the technique for that.
Go pick that up.
Yeah, and then just really prioritizing it, right? Because we all say we're going to meditate, but we never actually make it a priority to do X, Y, Z for ourselves. So it was a commitment. And the way I made it a priority was printing out a calendar. And it sounds really childlike, but I gave myself a gold star every day I meditated, every time I meditated. And then, you know what? I did it for 2 weeks. I said, I can do this for 2 weeks and 3 weeks. And next thing I know, it's a habit. And now it's a non-negotiable for me.
You know what? What did you call it? A gremlin voice?
Yeah, so you have like, you have like your
I love
gremlin
it.
voice.
Now, I'm going to say, everybody, please, whatever you call that voice, in your mind, whatever you're calling that voice, I want you to throw it out here for us. Give us a name. Catherine said something about saboteur versus the sage.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great book, Neo, and maybe Mona, you've read it, but it's called Positive
No.
Intelligence, and that book is life changing. I'm actually not finished with it. I'm listening to it right now on audio in my book club. But he talks about the saboteurs that we develop from childhood on. Some of them are the perfectionists, some of them are the controller, some of them are, all different ones. Everyone, there's a universal one that we all have all the time, and it's called the judge. So we all recognize the judge that judges ourselves constantly and judges others and judges our circumstances. So he said, once you start naming them, and instead of saying, oh, I'm not meditating perfectly, you start to say, oh, my judge doesn't think I'm meditating perfectly. My judge doesn't think I am. It like gives it it separates you from it and sees that it's actually not you, but it likes to make you think it's you. And that has been so helpful for me. And he said, well, those saboteurs really hide and diminish the sage part of our brain, what we would call the sage or the wise, calm part of our brain. And when you name those saboteurs and you separate from them, the sage brain is allowed to flourish and grow and become the more prominent driver. And it's a pretty cool way to, I'm just enjoying the distinction. There's actually an assessment that I haven't taken it yet, but I've got it on my list to do this weekend, to take the assessment, because I think there are 9 saboteurs that he's identified, but everyone's got the judge. And then there are 1 or 2 of the other 9 that will be your prominent ones. And so I'm going to go take the assessment and see how I score. But yeah.
Like, I'm super interested. Can you please drop the name of that one you used?
Sure, I will.
The YouTube link, that way I can copy that. That's going to be my next book. Every summit, I leave with at least 1 or 2 books that are earth-shaking for me. Untethered Soul and The Science of Getting Rich are the last 2. What were you about to say, Doc?
No, I was like wanting the book name too, but what I learned in my 52 years is that a lot of things that happen that I react to, it's not what I used to externalize it. I used to think that it was the other person or the other situation. But in reality, we react to things because of conditioned behavior we learn as we grow up. It's the way we lived our lives. It's protection or fear because our amygdala is protecting us, right? So if we've been hurt once, and so now suddenly we've built a story around it, we have this protection built in, it's not a reality, it's just a story. So again, one of the things that helped me break free from this was every time I started to feel some kind of way, be it anxious or worried or overwhelmed, I'd ask myself, what emotion am I feeling? Is this my emotion? Does it truly belong to me? And is it truth or fact? Did I make a story around it? Because it's pretty interesting how many times over my young life, and I'm so much better now, like I love being in my 50s, holy moly, it's like so freaking. But how many times I've validated why I reacted that way and got stuck in that story. And then that's how I conducted my life, right? So now I teach my daughters to also like really just step back and think, when you're feeling some way, what's the awareness? What are you actually feeling? And is that truth or reality? And then take it from there. It's all about becoming the observer instead of the reactor.
Choosing.
Yes, it's a choice. Every day it's a choice. Yeah.
Because every second, because you're walking around basically in la la land, kind of like autopilot thoughts or just judging what's in front of you. I saw a chair like that crack before. I'm not sitting there. And you're just walking around judging everything you see and how you feel about it. You have to choose to wake up from that. Just like wake up to the moment and then do whatever affirmation, positive, whatever you got to do. But you got to choose to wake up first. And after you choose that, you got to choose where to take it. Catherine put up, it's called Positive Intelligence. That's a pretty daggone great name for a book. That is a pretty daggone great name. I love it. I told you guys throughout this, we're going to be having special guests that are going to pop in and say hi and give their little 2 cents on the law of attraction. I got Bridget over here. Bridget, come on up and say hi to everybody. Go ahead. Let me see if you can unmute.
There we go. Hey, everybody.
So, hey, Bridget, how you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Nice.
How are all of you?
How you guys doing? How you guys doing so far?
Amazing, good.
Nice. Now, Bridget, she's a law of attraction person like all of us. She's going to be telling us how she uses the law of attraction in her day-to-day life and what it has done for her, along with any other little side notes that are going to help us better manipulate and move through our own, little practices that we've come up. So go ahead, Bridget, give us what you got.
All right. Well, I now leave fear and judgment all at the door. I took the Taya practice. It's Trust Your Abundance. So it was a 12-week course, and it really showed me how little self-worth that I had always had and had no clue really of. I didn't know where half of my judgments on myself or other people were coming from, even if I was just trying to help someone, like, oh, I want this for them and I feel so bad. And that's great. But I had to take a step back and realize everyone's on their own journeys, and the best that we could be for someone is just be the example that, you would want for them. Like, I want everyone to be happy and joyous, but I can't make that for them. I could do anything in the world for you, and talking to my face is blue, but if that person doesn't want it or accept it or receive it, it wouldn't matter. And none of it, really, if you're just that example of light and joy for people, it will brighten their day up. They will see a change in you and maybe say, hey, what are you doing? Do you have any tips? And once you do just stop judging yourself and realize how much self-worth you have, you want to spread that to other people and make them know how much self-worth they have.
Now, how did you, since you've implemented that in your life, what kind of notices have you changed?
Well, I left my 9-to-5 job that I was no longer passionate about. It was healthcare, and I really loved it because I was always helping patients. But my last job, it was more paperwork and whatnot. So I really was losing the passion for it. So I left my 9-to-5. I totally just trusted. You're on LOA with Walt, right? So I watch and listen to Walt's podcast all the time. And I was like, they've helped me change my life in so many ways. Like Dan Mangana said, the micro shifting. When I started micro shifting things and changing the smallest things in my life, like walking 2 to 3 miles every single morning out in nature, biggest change in the entire, it totally changes your momentum, how you feel about yourself, everything. And me connecting with nature. I don't even like the cold, and I walked 2 miles today in 2-degree weather because that's how much I'm just obsessed with the outside. And I just want to live by the beach. And trust me, when I do, it'll be 6 miles. But it's really implementing the little things and really knowing, if you want something to change in your life because you're not feeling that happiness, like Dr. Patel said, she has, from the outside, everything. But if you don't feel that joy from within, all that money, all that, great stuff that we all want and desire and is great. Trust me, I want all that too. But there is that soul fulfillment. If you don't have that, you just feel lost no matter what you do have.
Boom, 100%. I just want to remind everybody, and can I have either Shauna or Henry post again the YouTube link? Because like I said, when you comment on YouTube, we can see it on here. And there we go. Writing it down in a journal is a huge way of putting it out there. Writing is something different. Writing does something different. And it's crazy because you say something in your mind, it's effective, it does its thing. when you say it out loud, it's like 10 times more powerful. But I hadn't realized until this year, because I'm not a writing type of person. I've been typing since high school. It seems to be more powerful. You're solidifying it. I started writing deposit $40,000, deposit $37,000. On the back of this paper, every night I would write some things down, and how it made me feel was just amazing, because it made me feel like I was positively, 100% positively contributing towards that amount getting deposited 100%. And the thing about that is, when you do an exercise, you guys know you do a mental exercise, it feels good to do it. But when it feels good to do it, you actually like just believe it's coming. Like the package is in the mail, it'll be here. You got shipping confirmation. That's a different type of feeling, and that's what you want to hold to. You want to hold on to, 100%. DJ said something about dental. What did you say? Dental, absolutely. What did you say, DJ?
Oh, I just saw this dental snoozology made a comment about writing it down in a journal is a huge putting out there. And I totally agree. And when the biggest change in my life was when I just started a joy journal. So I've done a lot of journaling throughout my life. I was going through some hard times, and I was writing a lot of negative stuff in my journal. I was going through some really hard times. And I decided, this is crazy. It's making me worse. And so I thought, I'm going to write down one awesome thing that happened that day, whether it's the Lord's hand in my life or something that somebody did, a kindness. And it totally turned me around and really got me on the path to a stronger mental wellness. And it was the writing it down and having to think, what good happened. And I had one day where I couldn't think of anything that happened that was good that day. And I'm sitting here looking at my book thinking, what am I going to write? I don't know. And I was just inspired by a thought that came to me, or a voice, and said, how dare you? You have a roof over your head. You have a husband that loves you. You've got, 5 healthy kids. You've got all of these. I have way too much food, and how dare I say that I have nothing joyful to write today? And that moment was really a life changer for me. And so I really believe in what, Dental was saying, is writing it down is so important.
By the way, Dental was directly to my.
That's me.
Oh, is that you?
That's me.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. It's so fine. So I have, my YouTube, I'm trying to, I'm all over the place today. I got back from Dallas, coaching a team on sleep medicine, and then the Wi-Fi's out. They damaged the wire. It's so hot. Like nothing of my setup is working. So my names don't match, but I'm Mona Patel, and I'm also dental snoozology.
No, my bad.
I wanted to say something about the gratitude journal, because that was one of my biggest tools. And a lot of times, like, one of the things is I never appreciated my amazing husband. I've been married 29 years, right? And a lot of times it's easy to fall into a pattern of not communicating or doing the blame game and blaming someone else or making them accountable for your joy, when in reality it's you. So I started to write a gratitude journal, and I wrote down 3 things that would keep me happy in the morning, what I was grateful for in the morning, and 3 things after my day. And one of the biggest things that I committed to was each morning and night, I would choose one thing to write what made me grateful about my husband. And oh my God, it opened my eyes to just the patterns of behavior and thinking that I'd fallen into. And it grew my love and appreciation for him. And again, it puts you back in touch with what you should be feeling, but you've told yourself stories. So I love the gratitude journal. I really do.
I also love the gratitude journal. Sorry, I can't get into when I get into YouTube, they have that double sounding voice. But I love the gratitude journal. And I want to talk about my husband too. I lost my husband last year, so of 44 years. So really think about that every time you get mad at them. Just think, oh my gosh, I have one. So I learned to do that, but I also learned we would both mess up a lot on things. And one time I messed up big time because I made a reservation to go to Bermuda for a wedding, but I had the wrong year. And so we couldn't get rid of the reservation. So we had to go. And I remember looking at my husband, and he had just done something financially that was not such a great thing. And so we just looked at each other, and we kind of would give each other grace, saying, okay, we're getting close to being even. We just realized that both of us screwed up all the time. And so we would just gave each other grace, for whatever ridiculous, dumb thing we did next, because we all do those things. And so that was probably one of the best things about our marriage, is that we really didn't get mad at each other very much, because one of us had done something worse probably a month ago. So that's a fun thing to learn.
That's beautiful. Kim, just so you know, I'm pretty sure, I think if you have the YouTube video and you mute that, then it won't be no feedback.
Okay, I'll try that. Thanks.
Try that. Elise says she firmly believes in living with a spirit of thanksgiving every day. It's funny you say Thanksgiving, not gratitude. By the way, welcome in, and please tell us exactly what you mean by Thanksgiving.
Oh, hey, trying to follow the rules. I had issues with YouTube too. So like everyone has their own spirituality. I'm firmly, very deeply Christian, and I know who to give my thanks to. And so for us, in my particular church, we say living with a spirit of thanksgiving. And it doesn't matter what the holiday is, that is always choosing to be and acknowledging the thankfulness, being thankful, living for that every day. And like DJ said, you're choosing, instead of looking at something negative, you're choosing, I get to go to work, not, oh God, I got to go to work again. I get to go to work. I get to come home to this beautiful house I have, not, oh, it's so dirty and I need to clean it up. We all have those negative thoughts, but there are so many people who don't have that. And I think, and I love that, Mona, I'm going to have to take that, even though I'm the worst at journaling, and I need to flip that around. I'm the best at journaling. And being grateful for the things that my husband does or the people who support me. We have to shift our thinking. So that's what I say, living with that gratitude energy every day, choosing to be grateful instead of negative.
Last question real quick. Raise your hand if your spouse is completely on board with the whole law of attraction, energy, hippie stuff. That's a good. Okay, all right. Everybody except me and DJ. Sometimes, so you guys are very blessed to have that. But sometimes you say something too law of attraction-ish, and your friends and family just change the subject immediately. Or they say something like, I don't believe I attracted that into my life. And I'm like, you can't halfway believe in the law of attraction. You can't just believe it for the good things and then be like, no, it doesn't work for the bad things. That's the devil. Or, that happened because of karma. Or all the many things that you could blame it on. That happened because Jim told Ron. That's why that happened. And it's like, you way off. Come deeper to the source. And vibrating energy waves attracting towards each other. At the bare root of things, that's what it is. And so you guys be thankful for that every day. Be thankful for that. And I look forward to a world, and I believe we do this, so we can get to a world where everybody's on this type of page, because it is a beautiful one, and it's fun, and it's delicious. Just real quick, I just want to say, Shauna or Henry, can you get that to my Facebook profile page as well? The link for everybody to head over and drop their comments in the YouTube. My favorite thing to say, matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead, Mona, take it over.
So you were saying, like, there are some people who are not open to the law of attraction. They're just not in that headspace. But my favorite thing to say to someone when they're thinking, in that way, I just say, hey, listen, I know it sucked, whatever, like, you're going through, but think about it this way. Maybe it happened for you and not to you. And what I mean by that is there a lesson in there for you to learn? Is there something that you could take from that. Even if it was in your mind the most negative situation, it was a challenge, or you had to, you came across an obstacle. Remember, sometimes those obstacles and those discomforts are actually so amazing to experience. Thank the universe for sending it your way, because it made you grow. And let's focus on that. And it just slowly starts to shift perspectives. So, yeah.
Something different happens once your perspective, whatever it is called, changes. Okay? When you go from, man, I can't get that promotion, I don't have that degree yet, or I can't do that yet, I still gotta wait 6 months. When you go from shutting it out, making it an impossibility, to something that you could actually pull off soon, something happens. If your vibrational frequency is just going normally like this, and that's the wave that's affecting this vibrational current that we are as people, and all of a sudden you give it a boop, like a heart monitor type deal, that shift does something to the universe. Then you get a little nudge, get a little whisper, a quick phone call or an email. Yeah, this might be possible. Pursue it. That's inspired action, calling you to take action. Pursue it. Jump on it. 100%. Now, speaking of inspired action, we're going to bring up our next speaker, the very special and talented guru, Catherine Itel Belt, celebrity of the dental world, master speaker, great friend, enthusiast, spiritual, great person, and her husband is a great man. And like I said, when you have a combination like that, bouncing ideas off each other every day, it's an amazing thing. So Catherine, thank you for coming on, and tell us how you use the law of attraction.
Oh my gosh, where to start? Yes, and thank you for saying that. I do feel so lucky to be in a partnership with someone willing to explore these concepts and make our lives better. Yeah, so law of attraction for me came a little late in life. I got married very early in my life and was married for 30 years. In the last at least 10 years of that marriage, maybe longer, probably longer, I was pretty unhappy and unaware of my own power within that dynamic. And so because of that, blamed my husband, blamed all the circumstances that I felt were causing the unhappiness in my own life. And in the midst of that decade, in my 40s, my youngest son was an elite athlete, and there were a lot of beautiful things that came from that, but a lot of stressors in helping him pursue that career to become pro in his sport. And he was injured. He was all of a sudden in one race was very severely injured. And that injury led him to become an opiate addict. And as with all opiate addicts, he became a heroin addict. And so you can imagine we have this precious son who is now struggling with a humongous addiction. I'm unhappy in my marriage. You can just imagine the soup we were swimming in. And I found myself two different people. One person that showed up in my professional space as this very positive, very together, very successful person, and a very different human being personally and in my personal life. And the few close friends that I had that I let into that world, every single one of them in one way or another commented on where'd you go? What happened to you? Like they'd see me over here in this personal life, and it was really like two different people. And so I don't know exactly when it happened or how. I just know that I was given access to some forms of thought, some ways, some studies. One of those was Abraham Hicks. Some other books, I read Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. I read, just several books that really began to crack the egg and give me access to a new awareness. And in that awareness, I realized and developed a concept that I still use to this day that changed my life. And I call that concept, and I actually teach this in my work with Courageous Conversations, but it's called the flow, or I call it the flow. And the way that I describe the flow is to imagine, the flow is a metaphor for me for a strong emotional platform, a strong place of feeling and being guided or using how I feel as a barometer for what I'm attracting and what I'm drawing into my experience. The way I think about it is I imagine a river. You could do it right now in the room, whatever room you're in. Just imagine a river is flowing through that is gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at. It's a fabulous temperature when you get in it. It's a beautiful, easy current. If you were a cork in that river, it would be effortless for you to flow in it. And that represents in our lives, in this analogy, all the things that we want in life, all the things we appreciate in life, all the good things. So I think about the love I want in my life, the rich relationships, the powerful, productive work that I want, the impact I want to make, the money I want to make, the health I want to have, the energy I want to have, all of it is in there. And so I have people think about, how do you feel when life in the flow is going well and you're fully in it? So you got plenty of money, work's going well, kids are good. How do you feel? And audiences will give me, feedback that when they're in those moments in life, when life is working pretty well, they feel confident, they feel optimistic, they feel strong, they feel forgiving or benevolent, all these beautiful emotions. And we talk about, it's a wide range, right? There's a spectrum. You could feel at the low end, you could feel just a little like amused or tickled. At the far end, you could feel elated and overwhelmed with joy and bliss, right? It could be in anything in between, but all of those positive emotions would indicate that you're in this flow. And then there is a contrast, which I've learned to bless in life, because it's through the contrast of things that are not in the flow, things that don't feel as good. That's what gives us perspective. That's what allows us to be choosy about, we have to know what we don't want to really know what we do want. And so, I've learned to bless that contrast. But the contrast shows up in this metaphor as the muddy banks on the side of the river. And so, of course, we've also spent time there. The muddy banks represent just the opposite. It's the times in life when things are not going our way. Our children are not well. We have a family member in the hospital. We're worried about something. When we aren't experiencing good health, or we don't have enough money to pay our bills, whatever it is, that puts us in this place of lack and fear. And so when I ask audience, when you have those moments in life, how do you feel? And they'll say, I feel scarcity, like I need to hold on to what I have because there might not be enough. I feel judgmental. I feel pessimistic about the future. I'm, so, and there are triggers for this, like turn on the news, watch the news, and you can be in the flow all day long and watch the news and you'll instantly be triggered into the mud. Or talk to someone who's really already in the mud. And it's very easy, if you're not aware, to get sucked over there pretty quickly. So this metaphor has been life-changing for me, because it's sort of like I want to listen. I wake up in the morning and I say, I really want to listen to jazz. I'm in the mood for jazz music. And that's my most driving desire is to listen to jazz. But I've tuned myself to the country and western station. And now I'm mad because jazz isn't playing in my life. And that's what it feels like for me when I didn't understand the flow and mud analogy. I felt frustrated that I wanted this life, but I was in this life. And I felt like I couldn't. And what I realize now is it wasn't that jazz is, if you think about radio frequency and radio waves, they're all playing. All types of music are playing right now in our world. Like there's a station for every type of music, but you won't hear jazz when you're tuned to the country and western station because you're not in the right frequency. And in the mud, we don't access the flow. And so for me, it's been that awareness of everything I want exists. All my work is not to create it. Matter of fact, I don't have to create it because it already exists. The frequency of it already exists. I have to get off the wrong station and get myself tuned to the station I want. And that's stepping from the mud into the flow. So the biggest awareness for me has been that Neo, you have on your shirt and your brand, you're known for this brand, that thoughts become things. And they do. But I think the deeper message there is our thoughts make us feel something. So whatever we're putting our attention on and whatever we're thinking about causes us to feel something. And what we feel is actually the vibration. Our thoughts are not the vibration. The feeling they engage is the vibration. And so once you get this idea that how you're feeling is what you're attracting, then that becomes your guidance system. It's what indicates whether you're in the mud or in the flow. So I start almost every single day of my life, like all of you, with a little routine and a way and an intention of starting my day on the right station in the flow. And then I go out into my life. I open up my checkbook. I turn on my computer. I say hello to my family. I, pet the dog, whatever it is. And suddenly I'm triggered out. So somewhere in my day, I get triggered into the mud. So my game, and I've totally gamified this because I want this work to be fun. And my game every single day of my life is to notice quicker that I'm out and to play the game of how fast can I get back into the flow and how long can I stay there before I'm triggered again. So it takes away the kind of angst of I've got to always be in the flow and I've got to always be perfect with this. It becomes the game of how fast can I recognize by virtue of how I feel. How can I recognize that I'm out and how can I get myself back in? So that for me has been how it's showed up in my life and the tool that I've developed and teach others to really monitor and to manage my frequency, my point of attraction.
That's it right there. Choosing to wake the hell up from what's going on around us and change the narrative that's going on in our minds. Now, everybody talks about that. But when we're here in Neo Positivity, thoughts become things. We go deeper than that. So I want to know exactly what you have set up, triggers, alerts, alarms, because remember to wake up is the hardest part. Phone calls, emails, next thing you know, it's time to go to sleep.
Yeah.
How do you remember to even wake up to do these exercises throughout the day?
Well, it's like a muscle. It's a muscle. So I think through meditation, through some of the practices that we're all talking about and that we experiment with and try to manage, we build that muscle of what it feels like to be in the flow. In meditation, you're working with getting and staying in that place of abundance, that place of presence, that place of gratitude and acceptance and self-love, right? And so that's all flow. So as you become more and more familiar with the beauty of that space, when I first started playing with this, Neo, it's empowering, right? It took me from blaming other people for my experience, and it gave me empowerment that I was in control. Being a victim of anything or anyone is the most disempowered place you could be. You've given your power away. And I love the moments when I'm able to help people through conflict and courageous conversations. I'm able to help them recognize that by blaming anything or anyone, they're giving their power away. The most empowered place is to be able to never be a victim. So when I finally realized it and I get myself in this flow, I was on fire. I mean, I just was like, it was like the spotlight was on and my life was transformed, and I asked for a divorce, and it was easier than I thought, and I was able to have the conversation with my son that I needed to have to help him move to a place of recovery. You know, I mean, he did the work, but I was able to get my own life back, separate from my son, separate from this bad relationship. And I was able to write my life and to take those two people and merge them back together to be one person. So here's my message. I got in there, and the longer I stayed in the flow, of course, the more my success accelerated. And I met Tom. I teasingly say to Tom, you didn't have much choice, because I was so intentional about you. I sucked you right into my vortex. You had no say in the game. And so I was so intentional, and my business started booming, and my relationships and it actually frightened me. It actually, like, I remember the moment where I thought, this is crazy. Like, this is crazy what's happening. This can't be right. It can't have always. I was 50 years old by that time. I remember thinking, it can't have always been this easy. How could it? Was it always this easy? And I just didn't do it. And so I popped myself out of the flow. I literally popped myself out of the flow. And I got way far away for a while, because I was just like, you can't just think about these things and feel them and then they show up in your experience. It just can't be that easy. And now I realize it's exactly that easy. Now once you accept it, right, then you're like, okay, I get a what. So to answer your question, now I have created this love for the flow, and I've built the muscle of my awareness about how I feel. I don't worry about what I think. I only use that if I need to change how I'm feeling. Then I go, what am I thinking that's causing me to feel this way? What am I thinking right now? Because whatever I'm thinking is causing me to feel something that is in the mud. And so once you get in love with the flow and you build the muscle of this is mindfulness. It's mindfulness. And once you develop that muscle, it is so much more fun in the flow that I just can't wait to get back in and try to stay in there as long as I can, because life's better there. It's just better there.
100% better. Yeah. Bridget said something about triggers, and I want to get a real quick rundown. Everybody, if you can, we'll just go down the list. Give me something that wakes you up. I love triggers. Beeps, boop, click, pencil falls. That is for me, I learned that from The Secret. That was God, universe, telling me, stop in the name. Just breathe, take it in. Just take it in. And I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'll do it in a second. I'm about to hit send on this email to Catherine with a C, even though it's really spelled with a K. So that happens. Don't beat yourself up for it. Another thing is, I have my clicker right here. It's a little thing that I use, and I click it. Affirmation, yes, 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 yes. And I reset it every day, and that's how I hold myself accountable for doing my mental exercises. If I look at this end of the day and it says 34, yes, that's an extremely low number. Yes, I should have done better, but I am not going to regret anything about it. Don't beat yourself up for forgetting to do these exercises. If I only did 34 yesterday, if I only did 2 yesterday, that's how many I was meant to do. That is the perfect amount what I was meant to do yesterday. So you can't harp on that. And you can apply that to anything in your past to help you get over things. Okay? Other than triggers, I have 54 reminders a day. Some are on silent, some don't have a beep at all. I just look at my phone and they're there. And each one is like a different affirmation or mental exercise. You guys got to subscribe. Sean or Henry, can you please post up the subscribe link So they can subscribe. Anyone can subscribe to my newsletter. It sends you a different mental exercise every day. And I've got 54 of them, so you won't get the same one, within 30 days at least. And so that's that. In addition to that, I've created. If you have, I don't know about I have my phone here. I'm over here controlling stuff with it. So if you see me on it, I'm not being ignorant. I'm controlling my TVs and stuff. But if you go on Google, and there's an app called Keep, I think it is. Where is it? Anyway, there's an app called Keep that obviously is eluding me since I'm trying to show you. But basically, you go in there and you make a checklist of things, and then you can set an alarm, and that alert will chirp, and you go down that checklist, and it could be everything right about your life. It could be everything beautiful about your life, your marriage, your kids, whatever it is, whatever alarms you gotta set, whatever triggers you gotta do, whatever it takes to make sure this thing isn't on zero tomorrow. That's what you gotta do. So anyone else got anything that they use as far as triggers, to taps on the shoulder from the universe? Hey, wake up. That other stuff ain't as important. Just give me a second. Anybody got anything else?
I do. So ever since I started my journey on looking at manifesting and laws of attraction, every month I pick 3 words that will remind me of what I want to, my intention on how I want to live and what I want to attract. And, those words could be something simple. Like for me, at one point it was surrender, receive, and trust. And it helped me to get back into not wanting to control what was happening around me. I want to surrender and let things happen as they should and get back into the energy of flow. I truly believe that everything that we want is actually around us. It's right there for us to take it, but we have to be ready to receive it. And so that's my allow. And then my last word, and this is what I have right now in my phone, and it pops up as a reminder. It comes up every 2 hours. And then the other one is trust. Trust that things are exactly as they should be. And it helps me just bring back, I could have gone crazy. The old me would have been like menopausal, sweating because my Wi-Fi wasn't, I'd be like totally off my, like, oh my God, what's going on? But hey, this is how my morning was supposed to be for whatever reason. And I showed up totally in the moment.
Can you break this down for me real quick? Pick 3 words, and they open on your phone every 2 hours to remind you of your intention. Now, it's funny. I keep hearing this word intention. It's been thrown around a lot for me. And though I know the definition, I'm still struggling with putting it together. So let's say, Catherine, we were talking about this yesterday, and anybody else can chime in that does morning rituals that have intentions in them. If I wake up and I'm going to set an intention for today, I'm like, all right, is it the $1 million signing bonus, or is it for the meeting that I have at noon to go extremely well? Is it both? Like, am I reaching for the milli, or am I focusing on the things that are happening? Like, well, how exactly are you? Like, I want a perfect example of how you would set it. Like today, you woke up, you set an intention. Everybody, one at a time, 30 seconds. What was your intention for the day, Catherine?
So my intention for today was to contribute. So one thing I would say about your comment is I do want things, but really truthfully, we don't want the thing. If you think about it, we don't want the $1 million. That's not what we really want. We want what we think the $1 million will do for us or will make us feel. So I've been practicing lately, attaching my intention to the feeling. Do I want to feel joyous? Do I want to feel like I'm contributing? Do I want to feel like I'm having a positive impact? Do I want to feel loving or loved or smart, or like, how do I want to, I'm telling you, feeling for me is the driver, because that's, I want to feel, I want to travel, and I want to travel around the world when we're able to do that. And I want to capture, I have this dream of capturing people from all different cultures and asking them how they're having courageous conversations, and what their culture, what are their cultural norms around courageous conversations. And I want that to be part of my work. And so for me, the feeling in that is that I'm connecting the world together in a positive way. I'm the conduit for the flow in my life. And that's more important than whatever money would come from that or community would come from that. So I don't know if that's helpful, but for me, my intentions are attached to a feeling rather than a thing.
I'm gonna touch on that real quick about money. It's so funny because every time I ask for like a grip of money from the universe, I get it, and I don't even spend it on nothing. I don't even be trying to leave the house most of the time. I just be chilling, doing my videos and stuff like that. COVID came out, kind of a germaphobe. So it's like I'm chasing all this paper and then I don't even use it. So it's just, that's a whole nother side note on money. DJ, is there anything that you use as triggers? Now, DJ's a teacher, so she has triggers all around her. Kids running around, the teachers, the bells ringing. You have so many things that you can use. Like just the bell ringing every 45 minutes. For me, I'd be like, yeah, like I would love that. Is anything you use to wake up more often?
Well, I have, I'm in elementary and I teach the little guys. And so we don't have a bell every 45 minutes. We do have a meltdown about every 45 minutes. But, one of the things that's really helped me is in working with my little kids, and I'm also a parenting coach, but is when there's a meltdown, when there's that trigger that can make me feel like, oh, I'm not doing this right, oh, whatever, is just put that away and concentrate on, I love this child, or I love this parent that I'm helping. But to really concentrate on the love that I feel for them while they're struggling helps me to remember the goals that I really have in this relationship, and how I'm not going to be able to help anybody if I'm upset or angry or feeling less, oh, I didn't do this right. No, I might have done everything right, but they just are having a moment, and there's nothing I could have done, to help that. What I can do now is help them through that moment. And so for me, that is kind of my trigger in working through, whether it's my own children, my grandchildren, or my husband, or my students. That's the thing for me.
Nice. I want to bring up Walt. I want to get Walt in here ASAP. Walt Thiessen just jumped on, and my good friend Ariel Smith jumped on. We're gonna talk to her in a second. Walt, what's going on, brother?
Hey, I'm doing well, Neo. Just wanted to come in and say hello, see how you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Looks like you got quite a community going on here today. That's terrific.
It's a beautiful, beautiful blend of information. Walt hosts a vidcast, I guess you could say, called Elevate Today. 5 days a week at 4 p.m. He grabs a guest and they just chop it up about the law of attraction. And I call him Dr. Walt in my mind because that's my medicine. I come on Fridays and we have a show. And it's crazy because there's some days where I'm just like, man, I've done 5 podcasts this week. And I'm like, well, this is the best one. Let's just go do it. And then I leave there. I'm like, man, if I would have missed that, I would have been pissed. And it's just an all-around great flow of information. And he just had a Law of Attraction Summit himself. So Walt, obviously, throw the links, drop all the links and everything you can in the box, and give us your, answer to the famous 2 questions. How do you use the Law of Attraction, like affirmations, morning rituals, and what has it done for your life?
Oh my God. How much time do we have here? Well, I mean, the answer I always like to give on that is, how long have I been using the law of attraction since I started existence?
How do you use it? Like affirmations, morning rituals, And what has it done for you? Like, I've changed my life. I'm healthier. I'm happier.
Oh man,
You're
it's
giving
hard to
your
answer
best,
because
best mental practice.
it's
You
hard to
do
answer
every
because my
day.
mental practice changes daily.
That's
I
true.
try to make sure I have a mental practice of some kind every day. Um, Up until I was the last week or so that I was getting ready for my summit, I have to admit my daily practice kind of got out of whack because I was so focused on that. I was, you get absorbed in something and it's kind of hard to get back to your regular practice. But in my normal practice, my normal thing every day is I start off the day with meditation. I do a couple of affirmations in the form of mirror work. I do some mirror work type affirmations. I make sure I do at least 3 or 4 appreciations. And then depending on how much time I've allocated in the morning, if I've got the time for it, I have like a sort of a mind movie that I've set up for myself that I use. And occasionally I'll even add in 1 or 2 other random type activities. And then really after I got myself set up, that's about setting myself up for the day. Then it's all about checking in periodically throughout the day. And the more checking in that I do, the more likely that I'm going to catch when I'm starting to slip down that polarity spiral again. And once I catch myself, I've learned a number of different things that I could do to help pull myself up. But it's basically, it's what they call the mindfulness, right? I'm not sure it's actually the best term in the world, but it's the popular term. And when you're in that mindful state, paying attention to how you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what you're going through, it's just easier to stay up. The problems happen when we don't pay attention to that, or even worse, when we do pay attention and we don't actually follow the signals that we're getting, which is something I did recently, actually. But that's really my daily practice. Now, in terms of how it's paid off for me, oh God, I mean, again, how much time do you have for stories? But let's just put it this way: the more that I have learned about it, the more I've learned to trust it, which is really what it's all about. Trusting that it works, trusting that it's there. Then more and more I begin to realize I have control. And I think this is a gradual thing that we develop over time. We just kind of gradually it's going to be different for every person. Every person has like a different threshold of how much evidence they need to have in their own lives before they trust some more. For myself, my evidence threshold is actually pretty high. I have to have a few cases before I'm convinced. Some people, they can be convinced after 1 or 2 cases, and all of a sudden, boom, they're like Neo. Neo just like, oh yeah, I get this. Let's go. Which is great.
It's definitely something when you come up with something, you gotta. For me, I need proof. I can't just get a manifest cheeseburger. I need a cheeseburger, and then I need that meeting, and then I need 2 of my cousins and my sister, my brother, and my dad to each come to me with something. Then I'm like, all right, I'm doing a Facebook video. It's proven. It can work if you're tall, short, fat, skinny, black, white, old, young. Then it's going up. So there's definitely a process, but I don't want anyone to take away from the small victories, because the small victories are totally necessary. Manifesting a cheeseburger or something small, you need those. That's what's going to come to you first, and you need to appreciate that small thing in order to manifest more small things or something bigger. I was just talking last night with one of my clients, and we were talking. She was like, "Well, if I got a car, how do I manifest a better car? Or when I just get the same junky car?" And I said it like this: if you manifested, let's say, a red Lexus into your life, real quick before I do this, Mona, can you add yourself or no? Because sometimes I don't know if they can add themselves. Like, I didn't know if Kim could add herself or not, but I'll just throw you on there. You can take it off if you want. If you manifest a red Lexus into your life, right, out of nowhere, for free, a gift, some company just threw it at you, you're gonna be happy. You're gonna be ecstatic. Oh crap, new car. There's a certain level of excitement. Now, let's say the next day, the next dealership over decided to give you one too. Okay, you manifested a second red Lexus. The second one, you'd be happy and excited, but you wouldn't be as excited as the first one. You'd be like, another car. Yeah, I guess I'll switch them up, give it to my spouse. You wouldn't be as excited. So in order for the universe to make you feel that first excitement from the first Lexus, it has to give you something better, something bigger, that next step up. So you're not going to manifest that same exact car. So wrap your head around that, because it's anything in your life you can appreciate now. I did this in my garage with a 1995 Eclipse. Looked just like from the Fast and the Furious. I love this car. And it didn't work. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with it. It sat in my garage for years. And when I was meditating, I do this meditation where it's kind of like, if you picture yourself in an empty garage, feels a certain way. Now put two big vans in there, whole garage feels a little bit different, congested. That energy, that frequency of those things, you can actually feel them once you start to meditate a lot. But I would feel the garage in my car. It's here, it's present. It might not work, but if I wanted a Fast and the Furious car, I would have to go buy one, then get it working. I already have the first part done. It's here. I just have to get it working. I appreciated it, meditated on that every day, and ended up driving a Challenger for the next 2 years after that. A brand new, limited edition, orange Challenger, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful manifestation. So key in on things like that. Key in on anything you can use to work throughout the day. All right, my next speaker, I want to jump in real quick. DJ Studs. I got one of the. I went on Podmatch, which is a great thing. I'll post a link for you guys. Make sure you use my link because it's an affiliate link. I went on Podmatch and they match you up. You can do 20 podcasts a month if you have the time for it. And we met through there. Instant click. Law of attraction, positive energy, great person. She's a teacher. She's on here. She's under the weather, but she still came on here to bless us with her knowledge. She's just good. She knows what she's talking about.
Wow,
So,
you're too kind.
I want to. Wow. Oh, thank you. I'm gonna bring her on. So for the first time, I keep forgetting to do this. Everyone, DJ Studs.
That's so funny. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I'm DJ Stutz, and I've taught kindergarten, preschool, and other grades for over 20 years. But the little guys are my favorites. And right now, I'm teaching for the Douglas County School District a pre-K special needs class. And so I've got these amazing little guys that are doing exciting things, and they're everything from autism. I don't have any Down syndrome this year, but I've had them in the past. Oppositional defiant disorder, reactive attachment disorder, and then something as simple as just some speech issues as well. We have the gambit. And I love my kids. I love them to death. I also, as Neo said, I have a podcast, and it was so much fun working with Neo and talk about manifestations. I mean, I've been really concentrating on how do I get, more guests, and how do I find people that have the right energy that I want to send out to families and help parents to understand a little more about their children and how they can build those relationships. I'm all about that relationship. And someone said, you ought to go on Podmatch. So, well, why not? And I went on, and Neo was there, and what a great thing. We had such a great episode. It'll be dropping in, I think, a couple of weeks, but just so much positivity, and I loved the way that he was very humble and able to express his own concerns as a father and reach out to people. So the name of my podcast is Imperfect Heroes: Insights into Parenting, and he just really latched onto that. There are no perfect parents, but Neo was the one who wanted to, show his vulnerability in asking questions and then giving such great positive answers. And it was a great time. And so I guess that's one of the things that I've benefited from in manifesting. And so that's really great. one of the things that in my work that I really work with, so I'm also a parenting coach. I mentioned that before. And then I also work with the parents of my students. I work with, the specialists and the aides that come in. And most importantly, with my students themselves. My own kids are all grown up, and now we're enjoying grandchildren. Forget Disneyland. Grandma Land is the happiest place on earth. And I've got I've got 12 blessings of grandchildren. And so my life is full of joy. But that's kind of what I'm trying to help my parents see, is that when you're dealing with those little guys and they're having their meltdowns and you're trying to potty train, and maybe you're dealing with some abnormalities in their development, or they're significantly special needs affected, and it just seems like the world is crashing down on you. And I deal with so many parents that, thank you, Catherine. I deal with so many parents that just feel so overwhelmed, with all of it. And so when we can take a step back and I can say, you know, first off, can you hold your breath for 10 seconds? Yeah. Well, in the grand expanse of things, we're just dealing with these little guys for our lifetime, not much more than that. As we compare it to our lifetime, things may be hard for a little bit, but the way that you approach it and deal with it and cherish it, instead of feeling overwhelmed, but cherish that your child is healthy enough to have a meltdown, you know, or to be arguing with their sibling. That's all part of growth and development. That's how they're learning to advocate for themselves. That's how they're learning that, if I hit someone, I might get hit back harder. All of these things are positive as you go on. And you want to guide them through that so that they understand how to use these tools and how to grow. And if you just, can manifest that, I am going to have a healthy relationship with my child. I am going to give my child the gift of a strong family life, whether that's in marriage. For me, I've been lucky enough. I met my husband when I was 17. And we got married 3 years later. So now I'm really old, but that's okay. But we've kind of grown up together and tried to figure things out, and we're very different. And sometimes so when you're in a marriage where you're very different from one another, you can manifest that strength in doing things like writing down in a joy journal what amazing thing he did for you today, or she, depending on where you are. But writing down, they did this or that today. And do I get crazy mad at my husband? Yeah, I do. And it's okay sometimes. That's how it goes. But do I have a husband that will do the dishes, that will do the cooking, that our yard looks spectacular, that he'll help me with the ironing? And yeah, I iron. That's a whole nother story. But who will who has that? I do. And so how do I dare get mad when he doesn't handle some other thing just right? It's the same thing with our kids. Do we focus on the joy that they bring? Do we understand that parenting is a privilege and it is so short? The time that we have with them is so short that we can do it. We can manage through. I will tell you, I am now at the point in my life, I have a granddaughter that is 20 years old. And so even my time with them as little kids, as grandchildren, is fleeting. I've got my youngest just turned 3, but if we bring that perspective and then we stop and think and remind ourselves about how important that relationship is, And whether they're your kids or not, they may be your friends' kids, they may be your nieces or nephews. You know, we have children involved in our lives, you know, probably not as much as I do, but, you know, there are children always involved in our lives somewhere. And because we're an adult in their lives, we do have an opportunity to be an influence, to help them feel better about who they are, to help them see the world in a positive way and understand that they are part of the answer. So there you go.
100%. Catherine saying nice things about you. Thank God for people like DJ shining and loving light on Imperfect Heroes. It's something about, I mean, the children are our future. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We have to cherish that. I'm going to really get into that in a second. At least talk about parents. We need people like you to help us with perspective, and that's exactly what I wanted to touch on. And I always say it like this: when you cut your finger, and every time you reach for something for the next 3 days, you're like, it's annoying. And so it's like you don't appreciate your fingers being healthy until they're cut, you know. And for me, I hurt my leg recently, and you know, not having hurt my leg, I was cool. And then I hurt it, like, damn, this is crazy, you know. And then going to my son, I had an experience with my son medically that scared the hell out of me the other day. Luckily, it was nothing. I just don't know anything about medical stuff. But after that happened to him, for the rest of the day, I just watched him like a stalkish. But I was just in awe with every move that he made. I usually like to watch him at the park and see him discover, all right, I'm not going to do that again. I almost slipped and fell. I like to do stuff like that anyway. I'm a meditative soul, but this was different. It was my flesh and blood. This was my seed, my son. And I was just proud and in awe. And it took him being in a negative spot in order to get me there. And so I need to take action myself to improve that. More often, step aside, wake up, and use that opportunity to not just meditate on $1 million signing bonus or this contract deal. Put that energy on your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Don't wait. Put it on your kids. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, I just wanted to contribute that something Walt said earlier applies to this, and it really speaks to what DJ is saying, that we actually are attracting from the moment of conception. If we're emitting energy, we're attracting. And so the question isn't, are we attracting? The question is, what are we attracting? And are we doing it? Have we leveraged the power of being intentional about the attraction rather than just being accidental? And so I think for what DJ reminded me of was that there are two sides to every event. There are two sides to every coin. Everything we're thinking, there is the flip side of it. Like, if I recognize that this child's behavior is not fun, I don't like it, I wish it was different, it's really hard, whatever the negative, then there's always that, well, what is good about it? Or what might be the opportunity? Or what am I learning? And so I think the practice of law of attraction is really our individual practice of being, it's like wherever we put our attention is what we get more of. And
Absolutely.
So it's that habit. Like yesterday, my husband lost his wedding ring. He was out doing some yard work, and he came in and he said, my wedding ring's not on my hand. And he's lost some weight. And so we were like, I think maybe it's slipped off, and he was actually trimming trees and then shoveling that. And he took it all out to the trash, and the trash man had already come. And he said, I'm worried that when I took my glove off, that thing went into that pile and it's in the dump somewhere. And I said, well, okay, so let's think about the flip side. Do you think that maybe someone might find that never could have afforded, or it will be the best thing they ever found? And do you think there's a ring that you would love better than that out there in the world in the future? And maybe the opportunity, or what had to happen, was for you to lose it for us to find that thing you love even better. So what's the flip side? Where can we put our attention? How cool is it if we aren't attached to things? We're not, it's like that Buddhist idea of not attaching too hard to things because they're fleeting. They're gonna come and go. And so I said, good, this is a great lesson for us not to get too attached to the wedding ring, but get really attached to the love we share with or without the ring, And so it was just fun to play with. How could we look at the other side, the flip side? And I think, DJ, that's what you were talking about, helping your parents to see it's not that the other doesn't exist or doesn't have value. It's just what else? It's like, yes, and yes, it's hard. And what else? I love the yes, and idea instead of either or. It's yes, and, so.
Yeah, eventually unmute. Of course, in Florida, somebody comes to clean your windows and do your roof every day. Somebody's knocking with some kind of advertisement. But yes, 100%. I wanted to bring Ariel on and do a slight change of pace. Ariel, she's special to me because, well, for many reasons, but because the main one is we met and she was just, she was just quiet in the background, the whole group of people, and she was quiet and she was dissecting, she was learning, and I could tell. And so a couple of us ended up at a table, and she asked the deeper questions. I was like, okay, like she's on to something. She's not asking surface level questions. She a couple levels in already. And by the end of the day, she comes like, oh my gosh, you'll never believe what I manifested. So it was great, and I just wanted to see if we could get that story from you. And see, get an update on how everything's going with you and your venture as far as the food trucks and the food truck scholar. So real quick, everybody say hello to Ariel.
Hey y'all. So Neil, thank you so much for having me. It's good to see some familiar faces back. And yeah, so what had happened was I met Neil in the summer of last year. And then about a few days after that, I was flying to do some research for some food trucks in Portland and Seattle. And I really wanted to fly first class. I did not purchase first class tickets because we didn't have the funds at the time, but it was a strong desire to fly first class. And so from the flight from Indianapolis to Portland, I was like, okay, we could fly first class. They could call me. They could always have a space open and bump me up. And, it didn't happen. I was like, okay, well, we got a connecting flight, so it could happen then. Didn't happen. I'm like, okay, I'm about to leave, but I'm going to fly first class. So we leave out of Portland, and I'm like, they could always call me. Like, the number, it looks like it's a high up number, so that could be a first class ticket. They may have, gave it to me. It was not. But I was in economy, but I was really close to that divider for first class. I was like, you know what? We're making progress. We could get somewhere with this. And so we got the very last leg of the flight is from Seattle to Indianapolis. And I'm sitting in the airport and I'm like, what is going on? It's like, it's taking a while for this plane to board. And I'm on an airline I've never flown before. They get over the PA system. They're like, folks, we are going to board Indianapolis, but we are overbooked by one. We are so embarrassed by this, but if someone would volunteer to either fly into Chicago instead of Indianapolis for later today, or if they will wait till tomorrow to fly in to Indianapolis, we will give you a first class ticket and a $750 voucher. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I was also teaching online. I was like, oh, my grades are due. Like, should I really take another day? I really need to submit that. I was like, hold up. This is what you've been planning for the past couple of days, is to get a first class ticket. We're not going to miss this moment because it didn't look how you thought it was going to look. So I get up and I say, hey, I volunteer. And they was like, you're really helping us out because we normally don't ever do this, but we are literally just overbooked. We're in a bad spot. I ended up getting the free hotel for the night that was right by the hotel. I got the $750 plane voucher that I'm saving because I'm graduating in May. And so I'm taking myself out on a trip. So now I don't have to worry about the plane voucher for that. And I got my first class ticket. So I keep it on a board in my bedroom to remind myself that it is very, very possible. The lesson I learned recently is actually something I'm going through right now. And it was to avoid like the fear of running out or like hoarding. And I think we all kind of saw that during COVID with the toilet tissue scenario. But for me, what happened was I started getting a lot of cough medicine because I'm someone that would get sick quite a bit, sore throat, all that type of stuff. So I was like, oh God, like if my sinuses act up or if I do get COVID, I want to make sure that I have cough medicine or all the other stuff because people were buying it out in 2020. So I bought all this cough medicine. It was good stuff too, y'all. And never got COVID until a week and a half ago. And what was interesting was that it happened exactly 1 month after every last bit of medicine I bought had expired. And I didn't know it. And I'm taking this medicine, not getting any better. I do a virtual visit with the doctor and she was like, check your medication. It's all expired. And she said, at this point, you're just taking sugar. It's not doing anything for you. And so I had to trust that in the midst of everybody buying out medicine again, where I live, that there was someone that could get the medicine for me because I'm quarantining. B, that the medicine that I need would be there. And then not only that I could afford it. So what happened was that someone I don't even talk to on a day-to-day basis was in my program, reached out when they saw I had posted about having COVID. So do you need to get medicine? I had to be open to saying, yes, I do need help. They went, got the medicine for me. And because I had that appointment, I knew the medicine I needed to get, like the ingredients. And so they had just enough of that. And then she said, hey, only give me half of the money because, you know, these prices are ridiculous and I want to make sure that you get your stuff. And I had to be open to receive that as well. Even with my finances right now, I was looking for different sponsors for the podcast and they haven't came through yet. And so I panicked financially. A lot of things I thought was going to come through didn't. I was like, oh my God, my bank account's going to zero. And it was someone that I talked to that said, stop focusing on that. Instead, you know, you just released a book. That's a product. And before you say this big number, trust that every day someone's going to buy a copy of that book and you're never going to hit zero. You're always going to have just enough for what you need to do. And I said, okay, that's a valid point. And so when I put my mindset there, every day for 5 days, someone bought a book. Sometimes they bought multiple copies of the book and my bank account has not hit zero. Even right now, before I came on, I sold a copy of the ebook. I got an email about it just now. And I sold another copy yesterday. So in the midst of things still coming in, I'm starting to see it as a flow. It's like, it's not going to hit zero. The fact that things are coming out is by default an indicator to me that things are also going to come in to the account. So that's kind of what I'm learning is to, you know, trust that what I need is going to be available when I need it. I don't have to hoard and try to save up for it thinking that, oh, I got to do all this stuff so that when it happens, I'll have it. Because clearly that's not how it worked. And to be open to receiving for help.
That is 100%. I love it because, as DJ said, admitting that you need the help is sometimes the hardest part. Pride, how you were raised, whatever situations put you in that headspace where you just feel ashamed to let anyone know that you're reaching out. Lo and behold, at the end of the day, all these people surrounding you, love you, they want to be there for you. They would more than happily be there to help you out because you probably helped them out in the past. Catherine, thank you so much. I was going to ask for all the speakers to come up with a hashtag and hashtag it right now. Post it in there and trust, open, allow. If everybody could please put that in there. Let's switch up the algorithm a little bit. Trust, open, and allow. I love that. That sounds absolutely amazing. Because you trust your intuition. You trust life. You trust your ability to manifest. If you're in charge of what's going to happen next, you wouldn't do that to yourself. You have godlike control over the mental world. God could take your life right now, but he can't stop you from thinking about a red apple on the table. You have godlike control over the mental world, and that is the prerequisite to this world. That's how you trust in your ability to manifest, with confidence in statements like that. Open yourself. If you say, I can't get that promotion, not for another 3 years, then you ain't gonna get it, at least for the next 3 years. Open. Allow that to be a possibility, and then allow it to enter your life, hopefully as a permanent fixture if it's something that you're meant to do and something that you love. So stay on top of that. Thank you, everybody. Please hashtag that. Right now, we are about halfway through the summit. What I like to do, halfway through the summit, I like for everybody to get up out their seats. I'm usually sitting down. Everybody get up out your seats and let's play a little bit of music to get everything going back in the right direction. Get that blood flowing. I love this song. All I do is we, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. Yes, yes, yes. And they say yeah, and they say yeah. Keep those legs going. Cause all I do is win. And if you're going in, put your hands in the air. Just stay there. Oh man, that song, I love that song. Think about it. He starts off saying, all I do is win, no matter what. That is an amazing affirmation. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. That's an accurate statement for all of us. And every time I step up in the building, everybody's hands go up. Hey, hey, hey. And they stay there, they like, and that did something for me. I heard that when that song came out, I was visualizing the last time I went to this really fancy restaurant in New Jersey called Adelphia's. It's probably the fanciest spot, I think, in South Jersey. They had this banquet type thing going on there for the police department. And it was that. I walked in the building and everybody, hey, come sit over. And it was just shaking hands going around the room. And that song just made me remember that if I want to be in that situation all the time, to where every time I step up in the building, everyone's hands go up, I'm going to need to say and feel and live in that moment as often as I can. Just like my neighbor across the street at my old house. I can't be assuming that he's not watching because he's 82 years old. No. 82-year-olds know about the law of attraction. Some of them do. So you got to stay on top of that. Music is absolutely amazing. Catherine's saying something about it right now. Music is the best tool. I built my Flow playlist as an LOA to, you know what? That's what I need. I need a LOA inspired playlist. I have a playlist for, I call it uplifting older music, uplifting rap, but I need a strictly LOA playlist that incorporates that, it has that song. Anybody know of any other songs that are really good to listen to get you in that good spirit? Please post it in the comments right now, especially the speakers. Please post that in the comment, because here's the thing. I know a lot of great songs that'll get you going. Your energy is good. But as soon as the words start, you're like, no, I don't want to be thinking about that, and it's like, it kind of messes it up, and you try not to listen to the words, but some things stick out, and you've heard the song a million times, so you know the story that he's about to say, and it's still kind of giving you a back vibe. So some songs are great and uplifting, but the lyrics kind of put you down. Give me what you got. Give me your top 1, 2, or 3 songs if you feel that are part of your everyday. Or if not every day, they're a part of your I need to get out of this mood. Let me turn some music on. What's your go-to? I'm real big on classical. I love classical music. For all of my children, while they were in the womb, I was that guy playing classical music all day. And I guess it shows. I don't know. Catherine, what you got for me?
Yeah, on Spotify and probably on some other music streaming apps, you can make your playlist public, or you can share it with other people and invite them to your playlist. So it's fun, I think, to really, and I like all kinds of music. I have country and western. I have old, classic rock. I have hip hop. I have, Jason Mraz. I mean, I have, lots of different things. Because you're right, it's the lyrics and the melodies. It's how it moves me. And so for me, if I'm really in the mud and I know it and I'm struggling to get out, I always will try to find 10 minutes where I can just get outside or get on my treadmill or somehow get in motion and then put that playlist on. And almost invariably, I am lifted out of that mud and back into the flow. I get new ideas. I get a new perspective. So I think music is an underutilized tool if we're building the playlist with the music that inspires us. So for me, it's an energy shifter. It's an energy shifter for sure.
If you were to get in my car right now and drive, there would be no music on, because that's just how I do it. I usually drive, and that's when I go with my thoughts and all that other stuff. So I have to actually remind myself sometimes, because I'll be driving, and since I live out here in the boonies in the sticks now, everything's an hour away. So a half an hour in, I've dissected, meditated, gone through the day. I've done every mental exercise I can, and now my brain is just starting to go places I might not want it to go. And that's when I'm like, let me put some music on.
Yeah, I think that's it, Neo. I think being in your own thoughts is a good place to be, as long as it is causing you to feel amazing. I think it's just when our thoughts are not, causing us to feel amazing, and that music's just one tool. It's not the only tool, but I just think it's one that, we can have in our tool belt and pull it out when we need it. And I think if you combine it with other tools like movement or gratitude, or if you put all those together, it's pretty hard to stay in the mud when you've got that those tools. So when you were talking earlier about what are our triggers and what are the tools we use to get untriggered, to get back in that great frequency, those are some of the ones for me that have really been great tools. Another tool for me has been having friends that like this, like a community where they speak the same language. And so giving them permission and allowing them to coach me a little, so I have my personal assistant. She understands the language that we use around the law of attraction and around flow and mud and those things. And so not too long ago, I had a client that actually one of our trainers had gone there, and at least in her mind, the client had done something inappropriate. It had made her feel very uncomfortable. And so she left the coaching session, called me quite upset, very much in the mud. As she's telling me this story, I'm pulled over into the mud. Now I'm angry with her and I'm frustrated with her. And so we were all coming into a company-wide meeting. And of course, what did we do? We pulled everybody into the mud on this story. And pretty soon the whole company's covered in mud. And then all of a sudden I said, well, let's wrap this up. I'm going to call this client and I'm going to handle this. And my assistant said, well, just if I could just maybe ask, do you think, Catherine, that you're going to speak to him right now from the flow or from the mud? What would you? And I was like, oh man, thank God, thank God for her, because, and thank goodness we have created and worked hard on a culture where she feels safe enough to say to the owner of the company, what if maybe you should go for a walk and put your playlist on for a minute before you get into that conversation. And she was right. I mean, the outcome of the conversation probably wasn't much different either way. We ended up parting ways. But the conversation itself was very different, I think, because of her recognition and reminding me. So, lots of tools, right? But I think that music's certainly one of them. Yeah.
I'm going to bring on the next guest in a second, but I want everybody, I love the whole flow in the mud thing that Catherine does. I am a Pisces. I'm a water person. I love swimming. I love snorkeling. And when you, no matter how much, you just picture yourself at a beach or at a river, and no matter how much you can dig in and bring up a whole pile of sand, when you go under the water like that, how long does it take for it to go away? It's almost instant. And that's why I love that analogy, because when I place any fear, doubt, or circumstance that I might be facing or getting ready to face, when I think of it like that mud, it's easily gone. I can get rid of it easy. And if I can think of every issue like that, that gives me a new lease on life. I feel more confident about every subject of life because it's all just mud. When you find something like that you can hold on to it and cherish it. Frances, who's actually our next speaker, said something about how many times, she said, so true, Catherine, how many times we hide. So I assume we're going to hear a little bit about that. But first, let me give a proper introduction. I was at Smiles at the Dental Festival in October, and this bright soul sat across the room. There he is. Get him. And so it was cool. She came over and introduced me to some people that just great people, all law of attraction, positive mindset. We all clicked, and I was just like, I need to have you at my summit to share your experience with the law of attraction. It's one thing about the law of attraction is we're all at all different levels. We're all in at all different levels. There's some people that are just hearing about it. Some people have been hearing about it. Some people have been obsessing over it for years, like I have. So I try to bring in all the levels. And Frances is going to show us where she's at with it by answering the famous two questions. How do you use the law of attraction? And what has it done for you? Frances Horning, everybody.
Thank you, Neo. I don't know why I'm nervous, but I'm going to say it's not nervous. I'm excited. Okay, because as Catherine will probably teach you, and you're a speaker, when you have that sensation, you're not nervous, you're excited. And I am excited to share with you how I started. And I kind of morphed into it. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to try law of attraction. I'm just going to start manifesting things. No, it was a journey that started over 30 years ago, actually. I had a dear friend I worked with, and she was a spiritualist, where she practiced, she was Catholic, but she practiced being more spiritual. And I started getting very interested in that, and to the point where I actually started doing, which I know is not related, but there's a reason for it. I started taking courses on how to do chakra balancing, and I would actually work on people and help them balance their chakras and things like that. And one thing led to another, and I would read more books about synchronicities and law of attraction, and one thing led to another. And then when I had my son, I kind of fell away from it because I was so busy taking care of a newborn and a toddler and all that. I kind of stopped doing all that stuff, and I missed it, but I just didn't have the time to do it. So as my son got older, my husband would once in a while would say to me, Fran, can you do me a favor? I have a friend who's not feeling well. Can you do that stuff that you do, that woo-woo stuff? Can you go and take care of it? Or do some remote healing for him. So I said, sure, I'll do that woo-woo stuff for you. So one thing I have to say, I found it very rewarding, and I felt like I was giving a lot, but I was not receiving. And I think a lot of us were like, oh, it's okay, I'd rather give and then receive. But then as time went on, as much as I love my profession, things were happening in my life that I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted to make more of a difference in what I do. I practice a form of dentistry that's a little different than what people are accustomed to. It's biological dentistry, also known as holistic dentistry, but it's biological dentistry where it's more natural, a way of helping people get the treatment that they need and how the mouth is attached to the body. And there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is. And I felt I needed to do something about that. So I was a practicing dental hygienist up until about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was at a mentoring cruise. Some of you may know, Neo already mentioned Smiles at Sea. I went to the Smiles at Sea manifestation or a mentoring cruise. And what he did is he made us, and there's only 12 of us with 4 mentors. He made us all write down on the paper where we see ourselves in 5 years. Now, I wrote down that I wanted to work with these particular organizations. There's 3 organizations that kind of oversee the practice of biological dentistry. And I wrote down that I wanted to work with 2 of them. And moving forward, I would be coaching and training and teaching people how to practice this way by delivering high quality, exceptional dental care to people, but in such a way that is going to be beneficial to them, not just for their oral, but for their systemic health, by using less toxic materials, by using things more compatible to the body, etc. I said, I really wanted to make that difference. And when I wrote it down, I'm saying to myself in my head, Fran, you're crazy. You're not going to be able to work with these organizations. You're crazy. There's no way, because they're, they in our world, they're fairly elite, and who the heck am I? I'm never going to be able to work with them. So I wrote everything down, and we were supposed to put it away and not look at it for a couple of years. And actually, the person that was running the whole trip said, just give it to me, and then when you come back, we'll read it again. Well, I said, no, but I want to read mine. And I started crying. I said, I want to read mine. I want to read mine. Like a little child. And he said, okay. Everybody's like, let her read it. So I did. I read it out loud, that I wanted to work with this organization and this organization. And I wanted to be able to coach, train, and help people with this type of dentistry. Everybody applauded me, and everybody, said, good luck. We hope that you can do that. But I had that burning need inside, and I kept doing some affirmations. But then it got to the point where I finally picked up the phone and I called one of the organizations. And again, I was scared as anything. I said, who am I? I call and I said, hi, my name is Fran Horning. I'm a dental hygienist. I practice in biological dentistry, and I would love to be able to contribute something to the organization. How can I help? And when the words were coming out of my mouth, I couldn't believe that I was actually saying this, and they're going to be laughing hysterically on the other side of the phone. She said, you're exactly what I've been praying for. Where have you been? I nearly fell on the floor. I could not believe. I've been praying for somebody like you. I cannot believe that you're actually calling me, because this is exactly what we were looking for. So one thing I have to say, I started working with that organization. I was doing lectures for them. I was part of the hygiene committee, and things were going great until 2019. I wound up getting cancer. I had ovarian cancer. Did not know I was not feeling well for quite some time. Well, I wound up having a 4.5-pound tumor, wound up having weekly chemo every week, which rendered me useless. I was so sick, and the diagnosis of cancer in and of itself, did not scare me. It did not bother me. It was the treatment that destroyed me, physically and mentally destroyed me. And I'm like, I didn't think I would ever get over it. I didn't think it was ever going to end. I was a shell. And when I finished that chemo, 1 week after my last chemo, I did a lecture in Manhattan for the International Congress of Oral Implantology on biological dentistry. And I was able to spread that word that I wanted to people that had no idea what we practice. And my son had to take me there. He's a nurse. He took me there and he propped me up. And I gave that lecture. And that gratitude, the gratitude that I felt to be able to do that was palpable. It is a sense of gratitude that I had never ever felt in my entire life, ever. And that sense of gratitude was so deep and so real. It opened the floodgates, because now not only am I lecturing across the country and internationally on biological dentistry, I am minimally 2 or 3 times a month coaching offices and training offices, flying to them, training them how to do it. I am also now the associate director of one of the other organizations, basically be in training to be the executive director. Never thought it. So when I wrote those words down 5 years ago, never saw them manifesting. But by putting it on paper and talking to people about it and feeling it, and then that gratitude just opened the rest of it up. So if you're going to do anything, making sure you have that sense of deep gratitude, and when you feel that you're receiving it and have that gratitude, thank you, then it's just going to be there. And I don't know if I went over my time, but I just
no. Thank you so much for opening up and sharing all that with us. That's an amazing story. I can't help but key in on and ask the big question, which I'm pretty sure everybody's thinking every second of every day with, I call them thought foundations. Every thought has a foundation, like a house, and you could paint the walls and put mirrors and pretty stuff up, but if the foundation is built on crap, the house is a crappy house. So thought foundations, when you're going through it, you've been diagnosed, the treatments are freaking terrible, hurts, and your brain is taking you to a negative space. 60 to 70 thoughts on average per day per person. Your brain is taking you to a negative space, seemingly all 60,000 times. With each one, to try to curve each and every one is just an insane task. So how exactly were you doing it? Was it one at a time, like Wonder Woman, ching, 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 just blocking them down? How exactly were you curving these thoughts?
I had a wonderful support system in my friends. My husband, unfortunately, had to work extra hours because the bills kept coming, regardless whether I was home getting chemo or not. They didn't care. So my husband worked extra hours, and my son, he was in his last semester of his BSN, and he did not take his test. He stayed home to take me to my weekly chemo. But my friends, most of them from Facebook, actually, believe it or not, they would message me, or they would call me, they would send me gifts, they would constantly try to uplift me, because there were times they would ask me, how you doing? I said, I'm good. And they could just tell, oh yeah, no, you're not. What's going on? And they would reach out to me and they would help uplift me. And I've had conversations with friends on the phone. They'd call me and they would pray with me over the phone. They would lead me in prayer because I just wasn't in a good headspace, like you said, between the brain fog from the chemo and then just, feeling like crap, just being honest, just feeling like poop. She pulled me out of it. So having a support system.
I want to get you out of the support, because having a support system is great and everybody knows the benefits of that. I want to know about when you didn't have it, when you weren't on the phone, when you were just walking down the hallway and life seemed to suck. That moment, because that's where most of my clients, and most of the people that message me, they have no support system. No one wants to talk about this hippie energy stuff that we're talking about at this summit. They just are themselves stressing. So as anything you could give them that can help them out, that's really what I want to pull out of you for this.
What I would focus on was that my goal, right, when I talked about having a mission, or my goal was to be able to help more people in the line of work that I do. I wanted to focus on, I'm not done. I'm here for a reason. There's a purpose behind all of our existence here on earth. Whether we are here for the first time or we're here for the 200th time, because I believe we keep coming back until we learn the lessons we are supposed to learn. So I focused on, there's a reason for my suffering, if you want to call it that, my physical suffering, but I was not going to let my head suffer, because there's got to be a reason for me going through this. There's an experience that I'm going through. What am I going to learn from this? What am I learning from this? I'm learning more patience. I'm learning that my family is more important to me, because there were times I would work so much that I wasn't giving them the time of day that I should have. So I'm learning to be closer to my family. I'm learning that people are in my life when they're supposed to be and for a reason. And so when I focus on those things, even when I felt my crappiest, you know, of course you're going to focus on your physical discomfort. But then I said to myself, there's a silver lining to every cloud. Why am I going through this? I got to find the reason, because God loves his children, whether you're believing God or Yahweh or the universe, it doesn't matter. There's a reason why I'm here, and there's a reason why I'm going through this experience. What am I learning from it? Instead of focusing, oh, poor me, why me? Why do I have to go through this?
Those are the primary
What am I
ones.
supposed to learn? What am I learning?
Those are the primary ones. Why me? What the hell? Why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this?
Yeah.
If I can grab from everybody, real quick 30 seconds of how you handle these situations. I'll start off when I'm walking down the hallway and it's just me and my mind throws something negative at me. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this before. I like to use fear as a technique to get myself out, and that's what I teach my clients. Because I know that every second I spend in that negative headspace is contributing to my future. When I'm walking and that negative scenario kicks in, I'm like, no, I'm not spending a second there. And I program my mind to wake me up from that. Once I've done that, I've disassociated by feeling the pain, I've disassociated from the subject content. I'm now free to move on to the next subject. It may only last 2 seconds before the pain in my back, the herniated disc, hops back into my mind. But guess what? The more you wake up and the more you change the narrative, the better you get at changing the narrative. What I mean by the better you get is your brain will start to do it for you. And that's what you want. So I use fear. My fear is that I am going to have a negative thought that is going to contribute negatively to my future. And that is my number one thing. If I know that's what thoughts do, I'm not spending my headspace there. So let's go with DJ. When you're got that just popped into your mind, how do you wake yourself up to it, and how do you shift out of it? 30 seconds, go.
Okay. First off, I kind of say, okay, Deej, this is stupid. You need to move on. And then I concentrate again on all the positive things that are going on in my life. And why am I going to let this get in the way of not only my happiness, but the happiness of others around us, because we know it's contagious. And then I also think sometimes, so I know I'm here to learn things, but I'm also here to teach things. And so what am I here to teach my children about handling this situation, or my parents that I coach, or my students? What am I here? This is truth, not only for me to learn, but also for me to teach. And I love that relationship part of it. And teaching is that relationship part of it for me. And so I can use this to build my relationship and move forward and not only enrich my life, but the lives of others.
Nice. Kimberly.
Well, I have two answers to the same ones. In my secular life, and I do a lot of secular seminars, basically when that happens, I typically, it's the amygdala part of the brain that's sending me the fear messages or the whatever's ticking me off. And I just have my prefrontal cortex talk to my amygdala. And that works really well. But in my my religious view, my view of the world, I really think that Satan likes to get into our heads, and I do not like him. I do not like him, and so I just say, Satan, get out of there. I'm not going to be unhappy. I'm not going to be miserable. You just get right out of my head. And it really feels good because I'm like beating him up because he's done a lot of bad things in my life and I just like to get to him. So there's a little revenge in the religious section, but it could also be your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex. But you just tell one side of your brain, I'm not going there. And I use kind of anger to get me out. You use fear. I use anger. I don't know why, but I do.
Whatever helps you wake up, to, utilize it, and make sure you capitalize on every single thought you have. Don't stay in autopilot. Bridget, what you got for us?
Well, in Thai boot camp, they taught us to name the negative voice in our head, and so I can recognize it super quick and just kick it right out.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the name? I had a name before years ago, but I totally forgot about that practice until just
Mine was Bernadette. It's Bernadette because my mom wanted to name me Bernadette. My dad wanted Bridget, and my dad won, and I'm glad he did. No offense to all the Bernadettes out there, but yeah.
So when Bernadette steps in, I guess what I should have tacked onto this question was the most important part. When Bernadette's talking, most of the time it's on autopilot. You don't know she's even talking. You're just.
I constantly check my spot, my vibe all the time. So like if I catch my negative, anything negative, because I want to be like happy all the time. I'm just like that. So if I'm not, I know it and I recognize it and I'm like, something's got to give, something's changing. What is it? And I figure out if it's like something I need to change or if it's just like, oh, you're just like in a bad mood for some reason. Okay, go do something, go for your walk, go do whatever. And then I'm good again.
And you're like, Bernadette, get out of here.
Yeah, get out, man. Yeah, because she's not serving me any good. All she's doing, like Walt said, was she's burning me. Bernadette is burning me every time she comes in. She's not helping me at all. She's serving me absolutely no purpose. And she just brings back my old belief systems, which I'm getting rid of, and I don't need to come back.
I've been in so many situations that now I just accept it and accept it to the point where I think if it happened in front of people, I really wouldn't care. But I've been in so many situations where I was in a great mood and I was trying to capitalize on that by doing an affirmation on top of it or bringing the watcher in or showing appreciation. And then the ego says what it says. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, I've done that. I've literally, come on, man. I was like, now. And sometimes you got to do that. If that's
the self-dialogue can help.
That's the dialogue you have to completely disassociate yourself from whatever notion was getting tapped and whispered into your ear, a child clamoring for your attention, and you use what you got to do to get it. But waking up to it is the most important part. And I can't wait to hear what Walt says about this because we talk about some of this all the time. He always has great insight. You can sit in that negative headspace for 30 minutes and not even know you're there. You could be the most positive person and all this other stuff, but a negative scenario comes up, your grandma's in the hospital, and it's just, you don't even realize you're in it for that long. So waking up from that, add that to your answer. Catherine, what you got for me?
Gosh, I'm anxious to hear what Walt's going to say too. I actually bless that little voice. I like the idea of the ego or the judge, but I actually have been practicing lately not villainizing that voice and actually befriending it and being grateful that it continues to show me the contrast of what I don't want and what I've grown through. And so it becomes, I'm like, what's the new frame? Like how, it's like the wedding ring. Like how could I put a new frame that I could look through a new set of lenses at this same situation? It's like that meme about the snow. I mean, you're either going to have a joy. It doesn't really matter. You'll either have joy when you look at the snow or you'll have less joy, but you'll have the same amount of snow. So it's just that new frame of how to see it and befriending it, not making it my enemy. I loved that piece that I learned from that book I mentioned this morning about the saboteur of the judge and how the judge is constantly evaluating us,
Judging
others, and the circumstance. And I love this is a brand new practice for me, but I love the tip of when you hear yourself saying, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or, you know, how could I have messed that up? It's, you know, that was such an idiotic thing to do, or I didn't meet that goal, or, you know, whatever it is that we all have that, you know, Bernadette in there saying to us. The practice was saying, instead of saying, I'm such an idiot, to say, oh, my judge actually saying that, what an idiot. You know, my judge thinks I'm an idiot. What do I actually think? What's the new frame for this? What did I learn? What did I get? How has it befriended me? So it's similar to what all of you are saying, just a little different tact on it. So I think you know, whatever we don't want, if we give it too much attention, even if we don't want it anymore, we're still giving it attention. We're still vibrating in the space of what we don't want. So the quicker we can move our attention to what the don't want is showing us we do want, then we've shifted our vibration and point of attraction.
Whether you're focusing on having debt or not having debt, your focus is on debt.
That's
Grow
right.
your life just like anything else you focus on. So stick with that. Remember that. I love the word judge. That is my newest practice because, you know, being a cop, I feel a certain way about judges. And it's a segregation. It's a separation. And when I see that in my mind, like from the untethered soul, as a voice that's not mine, I'm the observer of the voice. We're obviously two different things. Once I do that, I can proceed way smoother with my mental exercise. So using the word judge puts me in that frame immediately. I'm disassociated. This is not my voice. And then you tack on top of that, the word judge means to judge. And that's exactly what it's doing. I don't like doing that. So not only is this not me, it's saying something I probably don't want to hear. And so I can't wait while you were talking, I'm trying to incorporate it since you said it into different things. It's so juicy. I love it. Walt, where you at?
Well, first of all, I think everybody came up with some great answers here. And I want to commend everybody for them because they really are excellent answers. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach here. I'm going to suggest that you follow their examples because every one of the people on this panel who have given an answer here have already thought about this issue. Not only have they not already thought about it, they've actively worked on, here are the things that work for me. Here are the things that don't work for me. They figured out in advance what worked. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, like when Bridge was saying, taking that mental temperature, that emotional temperature to see how you're feeling. Also ask yourself, if I've fallen into a more negative stance than I was in before, how far down have I fallen? If I've fallen down just a little bit, that's pretty easy to climb out of. It doesn't take a whole lot to climb out of that. You can just, do an affirmation or pet a cat or something and you're back up. If you've fallen a lot further down, that's when it's really valuable to have an existing practice, some sort of process you've already done that you know from previous experience has pulled you way up when you need to be pulled way up so that you can go right to it. Because the hardest thing to do when you're in that negative space is to remember what it is that you did that worked. I remember one time one of my co-hosts on the LOA Today show, she and I were having a conversation after we recorded the episode. And I brought up this very topic with her, this very same topic. And she pointed out, well, why not just make a list of the things that work for you, write it on a piece of paper, post it on the wall where you can see it. And that way, if you can't remember, you just look at the piece of paper like, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Taking a walk helps me, or whatever it is that's on your list. So those are really the two factors. Being prepared in advance by trying stuff out first, seeing what you can actually get yourself up that spiral, up to the higher level vibration by having tested it before. And then having it written down on a piece of paper, posting it on the wall, whatever, someplace where you can easily access it so that when you do find yourself going down the spiral, you can quickly reverse it because, like Neil said, you want to catch it sooner rather than later. So don't just catch it, be ready for it.
I love the whole writing it down because so many times I've got so many different affirmations and mental exercises, and I'm telling you, I'm not gonna say so many times, almost every time my alarm goes off, my watch, my phone remind me to do an affirmation, and I can't look at it to see which affirmation it's suggesting because I'm busy, I'm driving, or I'm in a Zoom call or whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna make one up. And I'm like, all right, what affirmation am I gonna do? Nothing. draw the biggest blank. I can't even come up with anything to do. And I'm like, yes is always my fallback when I can remember to do that. So having it written down is a visual cue, because it's like, oh wait, I haven't done that yet today. And then it's the easy answer. It's like right now, Catherine, you are spot on. Again, I was gonna say everybody find a hashtag and hashtag it. Hashtag what she hashtagged or hashtag whatever you want. But once you find it, just go with it. I'm anxious to hear from the next person, so I'm gonna bring her up now. Real cool cat. I met her at at Vanessa Emerson's event. Once again, shout out to Vanessa. We instantly clicked. I left there, and interesting story. She had donated to the website, and I saw that in an email, and I was like, all right, cool. So I grabbed my paperwork, my envelope, grabbed a shirt. I'm getting ready to mail it out, and I don't see an order, and I'm like, what is going on? And I go into Squarespace, there's no order. I said, well, I got a deposit here. So it was just a pure donation. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. Like and it wasn't like a summit or an event of mine. I was just at another event. So it was an amazing thing. I had to connect, and immediately on talking to her, it was like law of attraction, positivity, using it, been using it, excelling in it, as a spouse that's obviously coagulating ideas as far as spirituality and positivity and boosting morale in the home, keeping morale up in the home. All of that was just flowing from her pores. And I was like, you got to come speak. You got to come share with everybody. So without further ado, everyone, please welcome to the stage, Elise Newsom.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Mom duty had to call, so I had to take a little break, but here I am back.
Cool, Blake. Thank you. So we got you on the mic. 2 questions, 2 famous questions. How do you use the law of attraction, like morning rituals, affirmations, and what kind of transformation has it done for your life?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like a broken record now with everyone, but yes, morning ritual, extremely important to me. I am a dentist. I am very, type A, which I'm proud of. Getting that day started with positive affirmations. I actually read a book called Commanding Your Morning that my mentor turned me on to, and I've been doing it now for about a year almost. Has made a huge, huge difference. I believe that when you speak your day into being, when you center yourself before you've allowed anything else to happen, that grounds you in a way. So for me, I feel like, we talked about this, Neo, where I didn't even know really what I was doing as far as law of attraction. It just was part of my life. But now I'm becoming more intentional about it, about the practice of the law of attraction and The Secret every day. So I definitely, recommend that. How it's affected my life. I'm a business owner, like many of us on the call. And especially since 2020, there have been things thrown at us that we couldn't have predicted, that we didn't really know, how it was going to change business. But all throughout the pandemic, I have become more and more successful. I have not had challenges that maybe some of my colleagues have had. And I do attribute that to a spirit of mindfulness and positivity. And instead of looking at a situation as, well, this could be negative or stressful, now I'm looking at it, well, for instance, a lot of patients are canceling, or, staff members coming down with COVID, especially this Omicron variant. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? We're flipping that into, well, now we have the time to focus on this patient more. We can do more treatment on this particular patient, or now we have time to do that training. We're in my office really big on digital techniques. And so now I have time to train my other team members on it that we wouldn't have had time had we been busy. So certainly for me, being mindful and positive has made a huge difference in my life and my practice. And I feel like I'm just getting started with it. Neo, I'm like, where did he go?
It's crazy setup. I'm on the TV. I got a wireless mouse here, and every now and then I gotta run to the computer. But no. I wanted to get in real quick. Morning rituals. Everyone's talked about morning rituals since they got here. But nobody's really talked about it. And I mean talk about it. What is it exactly you're doing? What is it exactly you are thinking?
Let me grab this. I'm going to show you what am I doing every day. I'm picking this up. I'm picking up my book. I'm getting my cup of coffee, and I'm sitting down and I'm looking out the window. This is a routine. If I don't do my routine, it doesn't feel right. And I think Catherine pointed that out a while ago, that it becomes like muscle memory, to where I don't really need, for me, I don't need triggers. I don't need alarms. I don't feel right when I don't do the things that I need to do to set myself up. During the day, when I do encounter a stressful event, I don't feel good. And so that is what I know. I need to center myself. I need to take a minute, and I need to, pray or meditate, whatever it is I need to do. I don't need to set an alarm. It doesn't feel good to me. So for me to feel good in the morning, I get up, I try to put a smile on my face most times, and thank God for waking me up and bringing me to a new day. And then I sit down after I've made my cup of coffee and get my kids their breakfast. Between my husband and I, we figure that out. And then I move over to another room and I look out of one of our windows. We got a beautiful new home during COVID. We were a COVID millennial move, and got our house on the lake that we wanted, which I'm grateful for that too. And because of that gratefulness, I appreciate it every day. I didn't just get this house because we wanted it for a reason, because I love nature. So I get in my space and I sit down, and that's what I do, Neo, every day. And I make it a part of my routine, to where, again, if I don't do that, my day doesn't feel correct.
I love it. Can you do me a favor and show me your wrist? I'm just.
Oh, I took off my bracelet.
No, it's wonderful. You have no reason to take it off.
Let me tell you, your brand, you manifested that. I saw all the participants in our Speakers Institute that, we were wanting to be in person for, but it ended up pivoting to a digital format. And that is what, I'm like, I got to Google this. Thoughts become things. That's really cool. So I looked you up, and that's why I gave you that donation. I'm like, well, that's dope. Let me just donate. I don't need anything. Let me just support, I
had to send her some bracelets, just so you guys know the merch is there. The t-shirts are there. Say Neo Positivity on the back. We got the bracelets that say thoughts become things, stay focused. And the poker chips. I love the poker chips. On one side, it says, remember, thoughts become things, stay focused. And on the other side, it's just a picture of me with the website, but at the top, it says thank you. Now, that's not me saying thank you to you. That's the affirmation. When you see this in your purse, when you feel it in your pocket, what is in my pocket? Oh, why don't you take it out? Just say thank you 10 times. Then at that point, you're manifesting a future where you're saying thank you to the universe or God or whatever it is you believe in again. And so that's why I love these. I've tried so many different things in my past. I first started with a stone, like a pebble, because the movie The Secret tells you to start with that. And, I lost a couple of them, replaced a couple of them. And I did coins. I ended up doing poker chips because I like the shape. It's in your pocket and it's unique. It's not like a quarter where you might not even realize why it's there. What I noticed with the other chips were they didn't have value. So if I lost them, it didn't really mean anything to me. So that's when I went to Atlantic City and I got some real poker chips, $25, $50 poker chips, because I knew I wouldn't lose that. Yeah, I knew I would keep track of it. And that helped me to stay on task. So I love the poker chip idea. You guys can pick these up on neopositivity.com. Anything you can do to wake yourself up throughout the day. My tattoo right here, it's a infinity symbol with dollar signs on the end, and 42 is written in there, and it's a bunch of energy waves. That means something to me. I have $1 million bills and all kind of stuff hung up around the house that I usually just walk past, but every now and then one just caught my eye. And then you just do, as a matter of fact, right here, get you one of these. I love these. It is a golden $100 bill. We were talking about this on a live stream yesterday about money, how to get money. If you think of money as an essence, that you either have a good relationship or a bad relationship with. It's always been with you. Even if you got a penny, God money is what I call God money. God car, God shelter. I separate each of these different gods, and then I have a relationship. My relationship with God shelter has always been amazing. You know, car, But anyway, I love this because, not that it's gold, but the $100 bill is the most respectable, most lovable form of, currency. It's the biggest one. It's bigger than the 20 and the 50. So for you to say, I love $100 bills, the ego is going to step back and let you sit in that, manifesting another moment where you're holding a $100 bill saying, I love $100 bills. And so these are the types of things that you got to use to shift your mentality so that when stuff happens, you got to spend a bunch of money that you didn't plan on spending. But guess what? My relationship with money is a love relationship. As many checks as I've gotten, as many rent and mortgages I've paid in and out, that's what it's supposed to do. You get money so that you can spend it on things that make you happy, like water and electric and heat in January. So recognize the flow, the in out of it, and don't hate it. Don't hate to spend money, but definitely pay homage. Give the $100 bill its respect, and watch what happens. Watch what happens. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. I kind of went off into a different subject there, but that's what we do around here. Morning rituals. I want to get into full detail real quick with everybody. If you can give me like a 60-second breakdown of your morning ritual, but I don't want you to tell me you're just positive and you meditate. I want you to tell me, I'll give you an example. I put on the Calm app. I listen to this kind of guided meditation, but the dude I listen to is cool because he'll stop for a couple minutes. And then he'll be like, some thoughts may be coming in, and he'll tell you how to deal with them and all this other stuff. So I'll do his meditation, but then afterward, I stare at my ceiling. I won't let myself get up. Most of the time, my 4-year-old is next to me, meditating too. I'm trying to keep him quiet sometimes, but he does okay. But while I'm staring at the ceiling, that's when I'll say things like, my $1 million signing bonus. Not I have $1 million signing bonus, because the ego is going to step in and shoot me down because I ain't signed the paperwork. But my $1 million signing bonus that currently only exists in the mental world, which is extremely real, it's a prerequisite to this world. Everything I think about ends up popping up out here. That $1 million contract is there. So the ego has to let me sit back. My $1 million contract, my Lamborghini. Then I go through my meetings. That meeting went amazing. That meeting isn't up for another 3 hours, but it went amazing. See how I did that? It's I'm obviously throwing in the past tense like it already happened, but I'm not getting a promotion. I'm owning the company. If you shoot for 100,000, my clients actually shoot for 100,000. We usually get to 96, 97. So why would I shoot for something low? I don't want a promotion. I want to own the company type activity. Like, I don't have a company I want to own. I'm just using that for an example. But that's what I do as far as my morning rituals. No phone for the first hour. You guys obviously know what that does, because when you pick up your phone, at that point, you're like a receptor. You're receiving information as opposed to creating, giving off information. So no phone for the first hour. Of course, feed my son, chill. And when it's time, I sit down at the computer and do my stuff. In between every single email that I respond to, in between every single phone call I take, every meeting, every podcast, I get up and walk outside. That's my reset. Not once a day at 5 p.m. when work is over, which is dope. But if you can get it more often, get it more often. Get away. It might not seem like nothing, but trust me, it's doing something to your psyche. So that would be me. Probably went over 60 seconds. But anybody, I guess who's up next? DJ looks like she's up next in order of these boxes on the screen. Morning ritual in better detail. And the reason why I want you to go in full detail is because I know for a fact that listeners are going to try these things. And for someone to tell me to meditate every morning for 10 minutes and then, not answer my phone, those are all great things. But I don't know, if I don't know how to meditate, I can't really use that. So whatever you guys can share that can help someone to try all of our techniques and pick out the ones that they like, please share. So DJ, you got the mic.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Mine might not be as perfect as everyone else's. honestly, when I get up, I am a political junkie.
Oh,
I know. And so I'm in the shower and I'm listening to my stuff and I get ready and then it's off. And I go downstairs and I spend time in scripture. So, reading God's word is an amazing calming thing for me. And if I miss it for some reason, I'm off for the whole day. And so I get that done. And then before I leave to go to school, I go upstairs. My husband works from home and we pray together for the kids I'm going to be working with, for our own children, for our grandchildren. We pray in gratitude. We pray for our country and those that are in mourning, and ask that God will help us to be of use in his hands, and that we'll be able to reach out and make someone else's day a little bit better. So I'm being honest. I didn't want to make anything up.
No. I love it because any type of energy work that you're doing, as far as, and what I mean by energy work is proactively sending out energy as opposed to like our normal autopiloted thoughts that we have going on all day. When you get together with someone else, you guys are both putting intention, putting your energy into something. Ooh, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. We got Bridget. 60 seconds.
All right. I'll try 60 seconds. We'll see what happens. So before I even get out of bed, just for a minute, I'll lay there and legit just thank God that I'm breathing. And that my lungs work, dude. And I get up and I stretch for at least 5 minutes and just thank God that all my limbs can move and that I have them, like, because so many people don't. And we do take that shit for granted. So I do that. And then I do yoga and Qigong. And then, like, just on my iPhone, you just Google it on YouTube. Anyone can do it. You pick whoever you like. You know what I'm saying? Whoever resonates with you. And then you do it. If it's somebody who's doing too in-depth stuff that you can't do, I always do beginner stuff. You know what I mean? Because mine's more for like the breathing and the intentional and the grounding. I'm like you. I don't touch my phone in the morning. And then I go and I do my green juice, which already has like ashwagandha and like all these things I can't even pronounce in there because I would never even be able to find or buy at my grocery store. So then I just thank God for all those things that I just had, because I have the technology for the yoga and the Qigong that I wouldn't have. The green juice, have the stuff that's in there I literally wouldn't be able to find. My body can move. So many people can't. I mean, how many people do we all know that's even passed away, whatever, So I do all that right off the bat. And then I go into my morning affirmations, which I know people switch them up. I have the same ones I just do all the time. There's like 23 of them. And then I do another grateful prayer. And then I do a guided meditation that I got from the Taya practice. It's like a 23 long guided meditation, which basically zooms you out into the perspective of God, so you're kind of taken out of your body and everything, like separate your ego and whatnot. And then I always make sure I go on my walk. And if I cannot walk outside, I went even in the snow the other day, but the one day it was like sleeting and it was in the negatives. So I was like, all right, today is the one day you're not going to do it, dude. So I just walked around my house.
Let me tell you something.
I walked 3 miles around my house, and my house is not big.
You know what? I'll say this. You sparked.
Oh, and intention setting. You have to set your intentions and know what you want out of the day. So I had to add that one. Then I'm done.
No, that's a big one. No, you just triggered something when you said sleep. Sleep will change all of your plans. For those of you who haven't experienced it, sleep will change all of your plans for that day. It will make you not want to leave the house at all. Bridget, you must be retired because that sounds like a long morning routine. You work in the afternoons.
Right now, I'm not working, but I did all of that during my 9 to 5.
Nice, because you got to wake up pretty early, get all that done. But that's some work.
Well, it makes your day better, or else I'd go to work and I'd probably be miserable and let everyone or everything that was negative bother me. Instead, I don't look at it as negative. You turn it into a positive, or just walk away, or whatever you got to do.
And you don't want to spread that. to your coworkers, and you don't want your boss to see you like that and want to fire you. There's so many.
And you don't want to feel like that.
It's-
Like Elise said, you don't want that feeling, dude. That's like, no. That's why we're here, right? We don't want to live like that. We don't want to feel like that.
Catherine, I know you touched on your morning ritual already, but is there anything specific you want to point out that somebody might struggle with trying to get into that headspace as soon as they wake up?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned to you in our live stream that I was struggling with noting or journaling my gratitudes at the end of the day because I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed. And so, again, not villainizing that or not letting the judge, tell me that I'm inadequate because I knew other people were journaling every day, some of my good colleagues and friends. But so I just started experimenting with, well, what would happen if I woke up the next morning and journaled about the day before, some things that I was grateful for that I learned from the day before. So that's worked out better for me. I too, when I get up, one of the things my husband and I do is give each other a big, long, extended hug. It feels so good. It just fills my bucket. So I do that. I drink a huge glass. We committed that we don't get to have our morning tea or coffee until we've had at least an 8-ounce glass of water with some lemon in it to sort of break the fast from the night and replenish our body. So I have this great big glass of water. And then I have also, like Bridget, I have a guided meditation. I actually listen to, at least for now, I'm listening to the same one every morning. It is from Abraham Hicks. And Esther Hicks has an AM meditation and a PM meditation. So beginning of the day and end of the day. Once I found those, for whatever reason, they just worked for me. So that's what I use. Then I go for a walk and I always stretch. On my walk, just a tip, I have found some Abraham Hicks, just on YouTube, I found some things they call a rant. And she has a rant about money. She has a rant about success. She has one about health. She has one. If you just Google a rant about a subject that is bothering you or you want to do better or have more attraction for, she just really just like lets loose and goes. She just totally gets in the flow and then she just verbally goes. It feels a little bit like a rant, but not in a negative way. And so on my walk, because that rant is pretty high energy, it feels good to listen to that on the walk where I'm trying to get my heart rate up and get going for the day. So maybe use, go to YouTube and think of or find some things. I think Bridget and many here that have said, you want to find things that resonate with you. And I think those change over time. We're ready for new things over time. So I don't anticipate my morning routine will be the same next year as it is today. But for now, that AM, PM is really helping me create my mind movie. And then the gratitude, the hug, the water, and the walk with that rant. The one on money is particularly good. Good.
Can you post that?
Yeah, sure. I'll see if I can find it and I'll post it. It's a YouTube. So I don't watch it on my phone. I just listen to the audio, but it's all I need. And it's really more, it's not so much focused on money as just abundance in general, but money tends to be the vehicle for a lot of the abundance that we want. So yeah, really good. I'll post it on the YouTube chat.
It's so cool that you say that because I've experienced some rants of my own. I don't know if everybody knows, from midnight till 2 a.m, I hit record on my recorder and I just speak into it. And even sometimes I'm not speaking into it. But I've had a couple rants. And they felt good. As negative as some of them might have seemed, they all ended well and they all felt good. Here's the thing about us humans, some things that we have in common. If you are to take a pillow and scream into it with all the frustration and fear or whatever the hell you're going to be like, I don't care if you're taking a pillow and scream into it. But when you're done, you're going to be laughing. You're going to be laughing every time. And so I'm kind of a fan of the whole rant thing. I've had and the craziest thing, I've had situations where I ranted to El Creator about the success of the website, the numbers on the videos, and all this other stuff. Like, come on, man. There's some horrible people out here making mad money, living in the house that, I should be living, whatever rant you want to go on. And I went down these rants, and they ended up well, because they ended up, my whole thought process was shifted back to all the great things that were happening on its own every time. And I think that's part of the whole screaming into the pillow, what happens there. So the rant ends up positive in the end, which overshadows any negative that was in the beginning, because one positive thought is hundreds and sometimes thousands of times more powerful than a negative thought. But in addition to that rant, I've noticed that the next day something crazy happens. I get an email leading me, pushing me, thrusting me in that direction. And it makes me want to rant more often. It really does, but I don't really have real reason. Like, I don't feel like I need to, but I would suggest people doing that. It might sound like a negative thing for law of attraction, something, but try it. You'll be surprised what happens. And you get that email the next day, giving you that perfect offer. Francis was talking about that earlier. She got on the phone and the lady was like, "You are exactly who I needed." And I'm pretty sure she's talking about Dawn Ewing, who's a real cool member of the dental community. So those are the things that you got to get. Kimberly, I want to see. I know you touched on your morning ritual a little bit before, but if there's anything else that you want to add to it to steer someone in a more direct direction, so they can more accurately use your morning ritual, and then just so happens that your time has arrived anyway to answer our two big questions: how to use the law of attraction, and what has it done for you? So go ahead, take it away, Ken.
Well, I have a 4-generational history in my family of suicide and depression. And I lost my mother, I lost my nephew, I lost my son, 19-year-old son, and probably my grandfather. We're not really sure about him, but we lost to depression. And just about every other member of my family has, we almost lost to depression, including myself. I've been to that dark place myself. So I spent a lot of time in that pit, that pit of despair, that black area, that down in the the depths of the earth that you can hardly breathe. And I know what it feels like to be there, and I've been there. I spent quite a lot of my life there. But I also had the wonderful opportunity to visit other areas of the world, particularly emerging countries like Mongolia and Georgia, Armenia, particularly though Rwanda. I spent a lot of time in Rwanda. I went there shortly after my son died, kind of in my search to get out of the pit, because I was firmly in the pit and I didn't feel like I'd ever get out. When I went there, I learned a lot of really great lessons. And one of the biggest ones is, to be grateful for running water, and to be grateful to be in a home. I live in Minnesota. It's cold outside. I'm warm in here. There's plenty of food in the refrigerator. I learned to just appreciate the basics of life. But most importantly, Rwanda is the best place to go if you're trying to figure out grief. And they have, I know we probably all know the story of the genocide that occurred in 1994, which is only 26 years ago. The first time I went there was in 2011. So it'd been like 16 years after the entire country had been destroyed. And they were building themselves up in an incredible way. And the way they did that is they decided that they did not want the next generation to live as they had. And the only way they would ever accomplish that is to provide justice for the perpetrators of the genocide, to forgive the perpetrators of the genocide. I mean, how do you do that, right? And to reconcile with them. So I learned by going there and bonding with, I have a number of friends from Rwanda, people that had lost their entire families. And I've lost one son. I still had, they had lost their entire families, nobody left. And they were living a joyful life. 16 years later, how do you do that? I just thought it was just amazing. So they are like my inspiration. to get out of that grief pit. And from that time on, I have scraped and crawled and did everything I could to get out of that pit. My faith is very important to me, as it is to many of the Rwandans that I work with. I realize the importance of doing that, because if you're in that grief pit, you're not the only one there. Everyone in your family has a leg in or arm in, or half a torso in there with you. So I realized that in order for me to be the best mother I could be to my 2 remaining daughters, to be the best now grandmother, yay, grandchildren's the best thing in the world, and to be the best wife to my husband, who had suffered from liver cancer and had a liver transplant and was really going through quite a depression at that time too. I realized I had to get out of that pit, and I learned how to do that. And the way I do that is I use my faith, first of all, but the laws of attraction, and that I realized that there's a Bible verse, the joy of the Lord is your strength. And I live by that. I realized that we have the right to be joyful, even when you've had losses in your life. And 1 year after Eric died, I was a dentist. My husband and I had a very successful dental practice in Farmington, Minnesota. And 1 year after Eric died, I was having a lot of neck pain, and I went in and I realized that I had nerve damage in my drilling fingers. Now, I could have had nerve damage anywhere else in my body, but no. It was my drilling fingers, which meant I was done practicing dentistry, which is a profession that I absolutely love. So I had lost my role as a daughter when my mother died of suicide. I lost my role partially as a mother when my son died. Just last year, I lost my role as a wife when my husband died. And at that time, I lost my role in my profession, which was very important to me as well. And I had to just rebuild that. I had to rebuild my whole life. I had to rebuild all my expectations of what was going to happen when I retired. And I was able to do that by focusing on the importance of joy, no matter what, and the importance of I'm enough by myself, the importance that, the big man upstairs isn't finished with me yet. He must have another job for me. I wish he'd put it in writing. Doesn't work that way. But, I realize that there's still a job for me as long as I'm here. And as long as we all are here, there's something for us to do. And I've learned to live that way. And I have to say that my life now is very joyful. I'm here 100% for my daughters. I actually work for them. They're my boss. I'm here 100% for each one of my grandchildren. I'm getting them the next 2 days. I get to have 3 of them all to myself. And I live a very joyful life. So that's how I utilize it. I kind of answered both questions in the same time.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for being so open and sharing everything with us. I was going to ask you something anyway, but a Facebook user, and by the way, if you're on Facebook, if you just click the whatever it sends you, it'll allow us to see your name and give you a shout out. And saying how they can relate to that type of activity and that type of mentality following it. Now, I had another yoga instructor just jumped in on here, my good friend Regina Celeste. Hi, Regina. How you doing today?
I'm so good. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here, part of the Law of Attraction Summit. These are always so amazing, delicious.
Thank you. I am another yoga instructor, Kate Goodwin. She suffered through a whole bunch of losses. I think it was her brother, her mom, and her uncle all within a year. And she introduced me to something that totally blew my mind. And I want to get your take on it, Kimberly, and anyone else who has experience with this technique. She allowed herself to feel the pain. Whereas, me, I'm thoughts become things. I don't want to spend time in that headspace. I'm going to find a way to get through this in at least a neutral headspace. Everything's meant to happen. We had great times, celebrate their time on this. Everything I could do, like when my sister died, I'm trying to stay in a positive headspace. But she said something about allowing the pain, allowing yourself to sit in that, and not for 16 hours a day, but allowing yourself to cry and just get it out. And she was breaking it down for me and how therapeutic it was for her in the long run. Did you experience that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have to process the pain. That's part of the recovery. There are 4 tasks in the morning. I love the tasks of mourning rather than the stages of grief. Stages are kind of like they just happen to, but tasks are something you can get your hand around. One of them is to accept what happened. The second one is you have to process the grief. And that is the hardest part. And it probably, I mean, you know, when you go into a horrible grief and you have had a catastrophic loss, you kind of go into that zombie stage, you know, where you're kind of still in shock. And I think that lasted several years for me, especially with the loss of my son. And you have to process it. You have to know that. And I think that part of the processing is, for people that are going through that, is to know that it's possible over time to get out. You can't, I kind of wanted, after my son died and after my husband died and my mother, I kind of wanted to be like Rip Van Winkle, you know, and just go to sleep for 20 years and then wake up and it should be all over, right? But you can't do that. You actually have to process the pain. And I think the thing that I hope to give encouragement is that while you're processing the pain, understand that it's possible to get out of, you know, the norm, the easy thing to do if you don't really process it or work to get out is you stay in, you know, I was in that, you could be in that pit with a lounge chair and just be there forever and never get out. And we all know of parents who have lost children that never, ever recovered. They stayed in that pit forever. That's kind of what happens to a lot of people. You have to fight your way out of it, but know that as you're processing your grief and you're fighting your way out, know that you can get out over time, that it's a process, it's a stage, and you can do it. And don't feel, because sometimes you feel like you're going to be there and it's a horrible, you know, depression. When you're in that spot where you want to take your life, you really feel you're in such horrible pain emotionally and physically that you feel like it would be so much better just not to be alive, because that pain is so terrible. So it's a terrible, terrible pain. And any of you that have been there know that. It's just important to know that you're not going to live there your whole life, and you have the ability to fight your way out of the pit. You don't just slide out. You got to fight your way out of the pit.
I want to key in on something here. And I know everybody would agree with this. Had someone asked you prior to all these traumatic incidents, you know, if you could handle all of that, your answer is hell no. I know I can't handle all. What do you mean? Is that going to happen? So the fact that you're here, you made it through, you're still eating, you're breathing, that's something we feel like we can't do. I mean, I know people that have dropped their phone and wanted to jump out of the freaking window. And it's like, bro, it's a phone. It's a phone. You didn't even have that 20 years. They weren't even around. So it's like, you know, were they? Yeah, I had a cell phone my senior year in high school. It was a brick. But it's the things that we can make it through that we didn't think. I mean, we're strong. Basically, what I'm saying is we're stronger than we think. You know, and there are people who, you know, died of heartbreak, like your husband. You know, son. That's just traumatic. I mean, no parent should bury their child. That's unnatural. You know, that's unnatural. So my condolences for all of that. Catherine, I saw you shaking your head a lot. I didn't know, and you know, Catherine's commending you in the comments for everything you've done. So is everybody else for being so brave and so strong. Catherine, anything you wanted to throw on top of there as far as grief treatment that you've given yourself over the years?
Well, Kim, you're just such an inspiration and such an example of resiliency and using bad things for good. So thank you for your leadership and your example and the good work that you're doing for the people who need this. Just in my comment, you know, I like Kim was alluding to, I think allowing the pain to move. You know, so not stopping it or putting a cork there, and not, because it is so, and I think I shared earlier about my son's opiate addiction and heroin addiction. And, you know, luckily we're one of the minority. He's clean and has been for quite some time and is living a successful life, but it was a hard won battle. And we still don't know what the future holds there. You know, the probability of relapse sometime in his life, even decades later, is certainly always looming. So we don't know what life is going to throw for us, but what I learned through some strong counseling and coaching during that time was the best thing that I could do was to feel the fear, feel the pain, not deny it, not ignore it, let it move. You know, and just let it, and it's what you're saying, Kim, it's like knowing that it is in motion, it is moving, it's not permanent. it's in motion. And so I'm just in it right now, but it's moving. And so, I think that is was such a gift to me. And I also know that I'm going to lose someone I love. That's coming. I'm going to experience something personally, in my health or my work or relationships that's going to be tough to get through. And I think, Kim, you keeping this conversation alive, that we are stronger than we think. We're more worthy than we think of getting through it and getting to that back to the place of joy in the face of that. So thank you so much. I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Then thank you, Catherine. I really, for those who are suffering from children who are involved in, addicted to drugs or going through those difficult depression and so on. Ours was kind of a shock. It just came out of the blue, but that is a long-term grief, because there's anticipatory grief of what might happen. Ours was a shock. Everything was great, then it wasn't. He was gone. And so I think that it's really important to acknowledge for those people that have a family member in trouble in any of those ways. They are going through a grief process, and it's important that we recognize that and that acknowledge that.
Yeah,
I have to say, because I feel like I know I definitely have a unique perspective of what you guys are talking about that you guys haven't gotten to see. And it's to be a police officer in a predominantly Black town, to the point where if you see a white person, you know what they're doing. You already know what they're doing, especially if it's 2:00 in the morning. So many 16, 17, 20, 22, 28-year-olds that, they're just walking around and they have their addiction, and I've had to call their parents, come get him. I'm not gonna lock him up. Come get him. Oh, I haven't seen him in 6 months. Come get him. And me being able to see that every night. So when I hear you guys tell the stories, I'm looking back on all the many faces that I tried to help, because I wasn't that douchebag cop that was, beat people up. No, I was always trying to help people out. Everybody I ever locked up, well, not everybody, most people I locked up, I always told them, you're not a bad person. You just made a bad decision today. And I try to help in those situations, but it broke my heart. It broke my heart every time I saw, a kid from the suburbs that I knew wasn't supposed to be down here. So to go through that with a child, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. So you guys, bless you for that. Regina stepped in, and Regina, I'm gonna let you just take this one over. I'm gonna throw it up on the screen, but take it over. Give us what you were saying.
Well, first, thank you. What a powerful conversation. This is deep. And I don't have a lot of time today, unfortunately. So I'm glad, actually, in the sense that I can be really clear in my perspective, which I think grief is something that is inevitable. And Kim, thank you for your vulnerability and your courage and your strength, because you are, exactly like Catherine said, you're an example to everyone of what's possible. And, bad things happen to all of us, whether it's someone stubs their toe, or they lose someone, or they lose a job, or they go through a divorce, all kinds of things, lose children. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that most people experience, is not going through the situations. It's the sudden fear, or that they didn't recognize or think that it was going to happen. But yet we all know death is part of our experience. And so, I've done a lot of work around death, and I've actually studied, I've even considered becoming, at one point in my life, a death doula, and helping people transition and actually support them in knowing that death is a very natural process of life, and it can be just as beautiful and peaceful as painful. And kind of bringing in the yogic piece. And Neo, thank you for inviting me to this conversation, because I think one thing that I get and I love from the Buddhists is this concept that the saying is, make sure I don't botch it up, suffering is optional, right? The struggle is real, and we know life is not easy. We all have stuff that happens. And if someone had told me, 4 years ago that my mom was going to go through cancer while my dad was recovering from brain surgery, I would have said, hell no. Like, there's no way that I would have ever been able to put a smile on my face. And meanwhile, I was suffering with depression. And it's inevitable because the amount of stress that we put on ourselves, just living a normal life, working, having kids, having families, and then we're supposed to have all these, you know, extra projects. It's tough being a human being. And I think people, if they choose to, they can really embrace grief with a sense of like taking it and like wrapping their arms around it and allowing it to wrap its arms around them. And just like you've done, Kim, and I'm sure everybody here who's part of the summit today has been through something that they didn't think that they were going to get through. Like Neo, you said it. And knowing that it doesn't have to be as painful as we, like the fear is, there's a saying, false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if we can reframe those concepts, well, what if grief, yeah, it's awful, it sucks, it's painful. And what if there's some majestic beauty and almost euphoric ecstasy that can come from grief? And anyone who's really felt the pits of death in the face can tell you that there's both. There's black, there's white, there's yin, there's yang, all of it. And yeah, so when I mention about the river, that's what I think of, is like, how can we really just be grateful for grief, even though it's a nasty one, but it's there to teach us.
It's funny how water is such a great analogy for so many things we were talking about today. DJ and everybody, please, I want you to post the link where people can find you, connect with you. If you got a podcast, Lion Speak, whatever you got, put it up in the comments so they can reach you. DJ does a podcast, and what so stood out to me was she gears it towards families with 8-year-old and younger. And when my sister passed away, my little brother and sister were twins, and they were young, and having to explain that to them and having to explain it to my 2 kids who were also even younger than them. I don't exactly remember how I did it, but if we could go around real quick and just give a real quick on how you would handle that situation. Hopefully someone that's going through this in the crowd, especially with COVID and people dropping like flies, someone in the crowd could use this to possibly get one of their children or nieces or nephews or like DJ in the classroom. She's going to have to deal with this with kids all the time. What is it you say to a child to best get them through this mentally, knowing that the second you walk away from them, you're not going to see them again probably for the rest of the day, the rest of the week. They need to, whatever you implant in their mind, it needs to be good. It needs to be there. Mm-hmm. And it needs to hit them a certain way to where every time they think about that loss, your words pop up. Not their words, not the narrative that we were talking about earlier. So DJ, start us off with how you do that, since you have a podcast geared toward this and you work with kids every day.
Yeah, in fact, Monday it's dropping. And so it's a great episode. I've had 2 children throughout the years that have lost a sibling. One was, she lost her brother to an illness, had died in the hospital, came to school the next day, and nobody told me anything. All I knew was this kid was not the kid I was used to. She was totally off. And so I made some inquiries and found out that her 8-year-old brother had died in the hospital the night before. And so I really didn't have a chance to talk to her that day because I didn't get all the information until after school. So the next day, as we talked, and I kind of pulled her aside at a quiet time and just said, do you have anything you need to talk about? I didn't want to push and make her talk about something that she was still processing. Mm-hmm. But so I came and I just asked her, do you have anything that you need to talk to me about? And then she did share at that point. And I just let her talk. And I didn't try to inject my grown-up understanding of things to her very young. They have, imagine if we have trouble understanding what just happened, what is a 5-year-old going to do with it, right? And so just, I think, letting her talk, letting her share, and then, you know, and asking, what do you need? What do you want someone to do for you? What do you need? And a lot of times they don't know. They can't answer it. And what they might just need is that hug, that reassurance, that love. I had another little kindergartner that lost her brother to a drive-by shooting. And so that was something that was very sudden.
Yeah.
And I think that they come to school when they're my little guy's ages, somehow to give them some sense of normalcy, but also a safe place for them to be while the family is having to take care of all these arrangements, you know, and they don't want the kids involved with that. But the violence of this other little girl, and she was more recent, and what happened, she was afraid of every sound, of every big noise, of every, and luckily I'd heard beforehand what was going on. And so I just kept her near me. I moved her seat so she would be closer to me. If she needed to get up and move around in the room, we did that. And then I noticed she started talking to some of her friends. We're in kindergarten, how her brother was killed. And it was very violent. And so we had to have like a classroom meeting and allow her to tell her story and allow the other kids to ask their questions. And that was very helpful. And that wasn't just a one-time thing. We had to, you know, bring things in a number of times along with other resources like the psychologist and the therapist and the whatever. And there were times when she would get so emotionally upset with trying to process it in her 5-year-old mind. You know, things could become a little violent. And this was an angel child before, and she was still my angel child, but just manifested it in a very different way. And so sometimes it was just getting a hold of her. And my class, these are 5-year-olds, and they intuitively knew. And I had another little boy in that class that could get very violent from other things. They knew when these kids got into that place. One time I was like, what is going on? They had all assembled on, you know, the carpet that's in the little kids' classrooms, right? And they had all assembled and just started singing among themselves. I sing all the time in class. We have all kinds of songs.
Nice.
And they just sat and started singing and gave me the time to just be there for that little girl. Kids have so much more compassion and into it. I think because they've been with God more recently. They've come to us, you know, they're not so jaded. But that's just part of it. That's just part of how we move forward in letting them feel their feelings. And don't tell them it's going to be okay. No, it's not okay. My sibling is gone. How is that okay? Don't tell them that, you know? And so, anyway, I've taken up probably too much time, but.
No, definitely. I love it because, you know, especially coming from you. I just want to welcome in Marcus Cox real quick. How's it going, Marcus? Long time no hear from, brother. How you doing? Probably still muted a little bit. You got to unmute. Let me see if I could take you off. Sometimes it won't let me.
I got it.
There we go. I can hear you now. How's it going, brother? I unmuted him. I think he muted himself.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay. Good. I couldn't get on. I was on a different browser and I was banging away, and it's like, oh my! And I used to be a software engineer.
Oh yeah.
So,
Were you on Brave?
Yeah. Pardon me?
Were you on Brave? The Brave browser seems to have trouble with StreamYard.
Yeah, I'm on wireless, so
Oh, okay.
that might have something to do with it. And I live in the forest, so it's
Well, yeah, that definitely
sometimes
has
the
something.
reception's not the best, and it's very, very windy today. A lot. Are you stay in touch with Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work at all?
Nah, I get into some videos that are sent to me, but I'm not like an avid follower of all this stuff.
Because they just had a live stream. I was part of that on Friday from an island down in Florida there, and they had all these scientists from University of San Diego, and they'd been monitoring our meditations with the EEG, and they mapped it really beautifully. And they've been doing this for 3 years now. But they're finally publishing the papers, and it absolutely verifies exactly what you're talking about scientifically. And it's really nice. It's coming out, word's getting out. And then of course this morning there was another live with Lynn McTaggart and Dr. Joe again, and they're talking about the power of 8. If you're familiar with that.
I'm in the Power of 8 group right now. Yeah, it's an amazing.
Awesome, very good.
Matter of fact, Walt
Yes.
Thiessen, he was on earlier. He does a LOA today. I'm in. He invited me in there, and I think it's like 13 of us now. But I think 8 is the minimum number where you can make a big enough change to where it's seeable change around you.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing. The real is on the rise. Meditation, positivity, mindfulness, awareness, all that is on the rise at an accelerated rate, like it's never been. So, and summits and things like this are what's raising that awareness. Because if somebody's going to work, hustle, bustle, 9 to 5, they don't have time to jump on certain videos. They're too busy listening to Seth Rogen cuss people out on podcasts or whatever the heck they be doing. But when
That's
you
true.
add, when you add in the fuego, the fire of you can get what you want out of the law of attraction. You can manifest this. You can get that. That's when people start to listen. And that's what's happening. People are starting to listen. I just wanted to say real quick, shout out, Catherine Nightel Belt, Elise Newsom, Mona Patel, all the speakers that came that had to leave. I know it's a Saturday afternoon. I appreciate it. I love you guys spending your time here. And those of you that are still here, DJ and Kim, thank you. Marcus, thanks for coming in. Just wanted to make sure I extended my gratitude for that. Without you guys, it would just be me standing up here for 4 hours sharing my experiences from my life. But your experiences are completely different than mine. And though we may be talking about the law of attraction and we all mention positivity and staying vigilant in the face of the ego and all these other practices, they kind of sound the same generally, but when you hear it from someone who's going through something you went through, it hits you differently. We've all been through that. Your parents tell you something 50 times, but then your teacher says it at school and it sinks in. That's what I try to shoot for here. So thank you guys for that. I just wanted to cut in and say that real quick. Marcus, right before you came on, we were talking about grief and what you would say to a child, let's say 8 years old and younger, that lost a brother, a mother, or lost somebody. Something you would say to them that that's going to stick with them for the rest of the day and the next day, as that repeated thought keeps beating them in the head that I'm never going to see this person that I care about again. So, Kimberly, do you have something? Oh, of course, I know you have something. Yeah. But go ahead, bring it on.
Well, I had my husband died just a year ago. It was in the middle of COVID, which made things even more difficult because luckily our church had a funeral. We actually had one, and they limited the number, and then they had a live stream, so there were a lot of people could attend. And I have 6 grandchildren, and the very young ones, couldn't figure things out. They didn't really seem to know what was going on. But the 6 and 7, 8-year-olds were trying to figure all this out. And we explained it. We just took time with them, and they needed to be hugged all the time. I mean, they would come and sleep with me, and which I needed. That helped for me too. And they needed a lot of love and a lot of attention. They started to worry about does that mean I'm going to go? You know, am I going next? And of course, I hope I go next. I don't want one of my kids to go before me. I've already been there, you know. But so I'm explaining to them, I'm trying to create a journal for them so that when I do go and prepare, so when I do go, they've got something of me that just tells them how wonderful they were and how grateful I am for them in my life and so on. But what we also do is we keep Pop Pop alive at Christmas and holidays. When we're in the car and we listen to music, we listen to some Pop Pop music he liked. And at Christmas, when I give them Christmas gifts, it's from Nana and Angel Pop Pop. So we call him Angel Pop Pop. And so in their minds, he's still, you know, we talk about him. And I think that's the thing people don't understand about a death, because people think, okay, we just don't want to talk about it anymore. Well, you know, talking about one of the best things you can do to a grieving mother or a grieving wife or widow is to tell fond memories of the one that died, to remind them that their life mattered and their life made a difference. And I think that's one thing that we all can do, and we tend to hesitate because sometimes we feel like, well, we just don't want to talk about that. You know?
Yeah, because it hurts.
It hurts, yeah.
But that's keeping the memory alive 100% is the key thing. I still talk to my kids about my sister, and I know it's been so long. Let's see, I was 27 and I'm 40 now, so it's been about 13 years. That I know they really don't remember her. My son is 17, so 13 years ago he was 4. And my daughter was, she's 20, so she's 20. So she was like 7, he was like 4. And I know that it's very scarce, the memories that they have, but I also know that the more I talk about it, the more I re-strengthen that memory. It's like kind of like learning a language. If you don't practice, if Spanish isn't your first language, you just learned it in high school and you don't practice it, it's just harder to access. It's more of a cloud back thought. I kind of don't want to attempt it type deal. So definitely stay on top of that. Marcus, do you have anything you can give us real quick as far as something you would tell a minor in that situation to help them better handle the thoughts that their brain are going to be throwing at them for the next couple of days?
Can you hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I've actually have a pretty good story that I tell, and it happened to me when I was 15. As I died and came back from the other side, if you will. I was in a coma. I took a windshield out with my head, and I had the near-death experience, like Anita Moorjani, if you're familiar with her. She has a best-selling book called Dying to Be Me, and she describes crossing over to the other side and how exquisite it is. And I have the same experience. I was in the hospital room looking down on my body, and I had all these tubes and lung machines and things keeping me alive, even though I was in a coma. And that went on for 10 days, and I was in and out of that room. But it's beautiful. I mean, death is not a bad thing. It's exquisite. It's the sense of oneness that you achieve from that. And that's kind of what Dr. Joe is scientifically proving now, is that when you get into the higher brain states, gamma and above that, which is what you do when you leave the body, it's exquisite. And you feel this feeling of oneness, not terror. That's all from the media and stuff. When you fall into your true self, it's exquisite. And Anita's got some great videos on YouTube. So I would send them a video, one of Anita's videos. She was on did a TED talk that's really good. They had her on the machine, the heart monitor machine, and she flatlined, and which means you're dead, right? And she heard all the conversations going on in the hallway with her son and her husband and all that, and it was all completely documented. And then the doctors came back, and she came back. Her heart started again and all that. And that, when you hear those stories, and they're not stories, they're scientifically proven, but they're hidden from us. They're not in the mainstream media. Mm-hmm. And you feel confident and like Kim said, I mean, hugging and love, so important, really important. And I think kitties. I'm a big fan of kitties. If they don't have a kitty, I get them one.
At the end of each summit, I like to sit down and just get a little, just get more comfortable. So I'm gonna throw my robe on. I love this robe. I wear it every time I get a little cold. Here in Florida, sometimes it'll reach 40 degrees, and I just throw my robe on. So I just wanted to make sure I end this off. This last 20 minutes. Comfortable, calm, relaxed. I want to dive more into the law of attraction. I want to get into the meat and bones of why we do what we do. Okay, what exactly happens? I'll explain it like this. This is a special request. When you have a thought, it travels down your spine and releases from your lower back. That thought then travels across the entire universe. Third law of motion demands that every action has an opposite and equal reaction, which means the universe has to do whatever it has to do to you to make that thought travel back to you, opposite, and be thought again, which is the equal reaction. So in other words, what you're focusing on the most in life is going to grow in your life. It's going to be what's happening next. So to those, so many people that I talk to about the law of attraction, and they say, man, I don't have time for that. I got bills to worry about. I got other stuff to take care of. And it just kills me because I'm like, that's exactly why you're in that situation. Because you don't have time to self-help, self-improve. You got to get rid of that. You got to be ready and open to become a better you every day. My friend Jeff Boosie always asks, what is it you're willing to do and who is it you're willing to be to get your goal, to accomplish your goal, all that, whatever it is you want out of life. What are you willing to do and who are you willing to become to exactly get that? So stay on top of that. Step out of your comfort zone. You are going to have to become someone slightly different than the person you are if you want to grow. That's what it is. So many people, you make $100,000 a year and you want to repeat that process that you did to get $100,000, but you want to get $200,000. Doesn't make sense. Repeating that process is going to get you 100 again. If you want 101,000 the next year, you're going to have to change at least something. So embrace the change. One of the things that I've been learning big time lately is comfort zone. I am such a comfort zone person. You guys know I'm a homebody. I won't leave the house unless I have to, especially with COVID. And I stay in my comfort zone. But comfort zone for me has equaled stagnancy, and I didn't even know that. It's when I step out of my comfort zone and go somewhere, fly somewhere, meet some people, do something, Smiles at Sea, Dental Festival, Jumpstart. So when I get out of my comfort zone is where I get thrusted forward. The waves are at my back and the universe is just with me. It's just with me and it's flowing and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So a couple different things you can wrap your head around. I'll throw these mental exercises at you. And you guys, please, if I'm saying anything that you guys want to chime in on, just give me a wave and I'll pass you the mic. Got a couple different affirmations that I want to share with you guys. The yes is obviously my go-to because it's easy. I deserve, I always talk about that one. I deserve that house. I deserve that car. Notice I didn't say this house or this car because, I do deserve it. It's an accurate statement, but in the spirit of progression, I deserve that house, that dream house. I deserve that car. I deserve that lifestyle. I deserve that health. I deserve that type of joy. I deserve to laugh that much every day. Saying these things, for one, because you believe that you're saying an accurate statement, the ego is going to step back and let you sit in it, at least for a second. Let you water that seed, vibrate at that frequency, at least for a second. And that's what you want to do. I deserve. It's like you're affirming to the universe, that should be mine, bring it to me. Universe will respond. It's kind of like the expect. I call the expect 7 for the next 7 days. Just say, I expect as many times as you can. I expect to get that promotion. I expect to get that job. I expect to become healthier. I expect to lose 30 pounds. I expect to heal myself. I expect for the law of attraction to work for me religiously every time I try it. Just say expect as many times as you can throughout the day. How would it feel to? I was just talking about this before. When people try to say, I'm retired, I'm retired, I'm retired, the ego keeps stepping in. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. How would it feel to be retired? The ego steps back, lets the subconscious answer the question. It would feel amazing. I wouldn't have to do this. Life would be a little bit easier. I wouldn't have to worry about the paycheck, the gas and electric bill for the next 40 years of my life or whatever. That's a beautiful thing that the ego will shut down every time unless you find a way to word it. So it has to step back, and that's why I love that affirmation. How would it feel to be retired? How would it feel to be a billionaire? How would it feel to be in a better situation? How would it feel to be healthier? How would it feel to manifest my back pain gone? That's what you want to get. That's the headspace you want to get into. Next one I'm going to bring up, I got it from the Calm app in a meditation, 30-day meditation. The guy said, think of someone that when you think of them, makes you sad. Someone you love that's in a bad headspace a lot. I'm pretty sure everybody has someone they can think of right now that's in that headspace. But I was meditating. I just started my day off. I clicked meditate. I was on day number 23, I think it was. And he said, think of someone that you love that's in a bad mental headspace. I don't want to think about that right now. I'm trying to meditate and start my day. Skip, went to the next one, and I was like, no. The universe put it there. My intuition is telling me just to listen to it. Went back and hit play. He had me think of someone that I care about that's going through some stuff. It hurt. And he said, instead of, being, I think he saw it empathy versus compassion. Instead of being empathetic and feeling what they're feeling and possibly manifesting more of that feeling into your life, which you don't want to do, which is the reason why I try not to think about this person. He said, say to yourself the whole time over and over again, may he be well. May he be well. As the thoughts are coming, oh, he's going through this, may he be well. Man, his mindset must be crazy right now, may he be well. And so I just kept doing it, and I was totally watering a complete different seed than I had ever done in my life when thinking about this person that I've known since I was in the crib. We were in the crib together. So that is a great exercise that obviously, I try to take things a little bit further. May she be well. May I be well. Herniated discs, may it be well. Whatever you got to do in that moment to shift your mindset, you do it over and over and over again. I do that when I'm driving. What do you do when you're driving, DJ?
There's always those people that cut you off, or they're driving like a crazy or whatever. And I had an experience many years ago while I was living in Las Vegas, and this guy was driving very erratically, running on the side of the road, and I happened to be able to be at an angle where I could look in, and it was very clear his wife was in labor. And so it hit me now, and I don't get mad at people on the road. I don't have that road rage anymore. I figure if someone's driving that way, something's going on. And so I find myself just saying a prayer for them. I hope that things work out okay for them. I hope that they stay safe and that the people around them will be safe. And I don't have it anymore. It's gone. And so that's just been a blessing in my life to let that go.
That's amazing, especially in Florida where the drivers are terrible. You gotta
in Vegas.
I haven't been to Vegas, but Florida is pretty bad. Anyway, my whole thing is this: when someone cuts me off on the highway from 4 lanes to get off on the exit, which happens all the time, I'm just like, I wasn't meant to be at my exit at that moment. A person could have saved my life. I am not going to sit here and be upset with them. Yes, it was just crazy how it all went down, but that's how I handled traffic out here in Florida. I had to adapt to that. But these are the things that you got to do. These are the different things you got to do. When you ask for something, and the ego steps in and says, you can't have that. You don't have that. That's not what's happening. But what if it did? What if it does? That's a question. That's a different type of mental exercise because it comes, I try to gear all my mental exercises for preventing the ego from stepping up at all. How would it feel to be retired? Well, it would feel, ego steps back, subconscious answers. It would feel good. This is a little bit different because it would feel good only lasts a couple seconds before the ego finally does step up and say, but you're not. Just wanted to remind you. And that's when you say, what if I was? What if I did? You put yourself back in that great headspace you were in. You're watering that seed. You're vibrating at that frequency, and you're making that mental exercise last a little bit longer than it was originally going to had you just stopped it after the whole ego stepped up and did what it did. So these are the little mental games that you have to play to make your mind do it for you. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Right now, I'm to the point where when stuff happens and news, emails come in, my mind does it for me. I'm so thankful for that because, I'm the type of person that when I see an email, I got to answer it now. Whatever's happening, I could be in the middle of food. If they're asking me for something or something like that, I got to go research, find that, copy and paste, send that profile, bio, headshot, send it out. And then I go finish eating. And so for my mind to handle these things for me, it really has helped me out, to finish eating. Side note, as soon as I'm done eating my dinner, I stand up and put the dish in the sink. I'm trying to stop doing that. For the better of me, I'm trying to sit back and just enjoy that meal. The flavor might be gone, but it was delicious. I'm refueled. I'm appreciative. So if you can find little ways in your life to stop and smell the roses, essentially, do that. Do that 100%. And one of the last mental exercises I want to touch on that I always talk about because I credit most of my retirement to this exercise is the watcher exercise. And I'll just break it down for you real quick. What happened for me was I was taking a government test in a small room with one desk, no windows, one door, no cameras or recorders or anything like that. It wasn't that serious. So when I got done taking the test, I got up, grabbed my stuff, and when I went to walk out, I tripped over the edge of the table, like just a little stumble. And as I stumbled, I kind of looked back, like smiling, like, oh man, you saw that? Oh man, I thought, I'm in here alone, but somebody saw that. What I had realized in that moment was that was the first time I ever really felt and experienced what I call the watcher. I mean, we've all felt it before, like someone was watching us. And for those of you who I know a bunch of people who say they can't feel it. And it's funny because I love doing this in person. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't feel watcher. I don't feel anyone watching me. I say, hold on. And I disappear. I put my phone on the bookshelf and I come back. And I say, okay, go ahead. And right when they start talking, I said, oh, by the way, we're live streaming right now. Go ahead. And that's when they go. And you could feel it. They now feel a beam of energy hitting them in the back of the head. That's the watcher feeling I'm talking about. I don't have to go every time I've ever done that to somebody and they felt it, I show them my phone. I didn't even open it. It's not even on. And then the watcher feeling disappears. But that's the feeling I'm talking about. So I like to study things that all people have in common. Like we all laugh, no matter what country you're from. Laughter is identifiable. And this is something we can all feel, is the watcher feeling. So I wanted to study it. And but not from a book. When I study, I meditate. So I spent time with it, got quiet, felt the watcher watching me. Very first thing I noticed, and it was and something in me could feel that it was 100% true. That the watcher not only knew I was watching it, I made the conscious decision to watch it, but it also could hear every single thought I was having, which means every single thought I had. And I said to myself, watching me at all times, even when I'm not paying attention to it, knows all my thoughts, kind of sounds like God. And if I'm right, this is the closest as people that we'll be able to really, interact and feel, So I said, wow, this is amazing. I want to look into this more. And so through different studies I did mentally, I ended up I was at the park with my toes in the sand, and I was visualizing myself at the Bahamas. I do that, or on a beach. I do that often because I like to manifest the beach into my life. And while I was in the beach, on the sand mentally with my toes in the sand, I was really at the park, I brought the washer in. Now the watcher's watching me with my toes in the sand at the beach, and it was feeling good. Next thing you know, I was at the beach, and I was at the beach quick. Like that afternoon, someone called me like, yo, we're headed to Atlantic City. You want to come? Yeah. So I went. And I saw The Secret in March. The watcher exercise came 8 months later in the beginning of November. It was November 2nd or 3rd. My last day of work was November 28th. And the only thing I had changed, over those 8 months, I had obsessed over learning a million different mental exercises and trying them, keeping the ones I like, scrapping the ones I don't. So it was straight trial and error for 8 months. But the only thing I changed was implementing the watcher exercise, and everything just exploded. So if you guys can implement that into your life in any way, shape, or form, it's amazing. I know a lot of people not a lot of people, I know a couple people who say they don't like that feeling. I don't like feeling like I'm being watched. I know they've had some stalker issues in the past, so that's probably why they don't like it. But when a person says that, it breaks my heart, because so many things I've gone for, my truck, my trailer, airplanes, paramotors, I've boosted the power and cut down the time it took for me to manifest those things by using this exercise. So if you guys you can do it whenever. You could have done it right now and wouldn't even know. You just feel like something's watching you. That's it. Feel it. Sit in it. I'm doing it right now. It's coming from right here. Sometimes it'll come from different angles. Sometimes it'll come from the light that's above your head. That doesn't even matter. Don't fixate on one spot. Just feel it. And right there, you're doing something. You're watering a different seed, and you're changing what's happening and what's going on. So key in on that, and any other mental exercises that you guys can get from anybody you see on screen today. Anything that we said, definitely co-sign, throw something in the comments, put some hashtags up. Everybody that's in this room right now, please hashtag something from today. Okay, Marcus, we're using the link I put in the private chat for the YouTube video, because then I can pop it up on the screen if I needed to. But throw a hashtag in there about something that you learned today, or something that really hit home for you today, that you're like, you know what? I haven't thought about that mental exercise in 2 weeks. I'm getting back on it, because that's how we grow. That's the thing about all these exercises. I deserve all day long. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to do it twice. The next day, I'm not going to do it at all, because that's just life. We get used to things. That car you're driving was the bomb when you first got it. Now it's just another car. Same thing for your house. When you're chewing on food, the flavor just kind of seems to disappear. It doesn't disappear. You got used to it. So as humans, we get used to things. So you got to switch up your mental exercises. So pick different ones, switch them up. I put up the link for the newsletter. I'll send you a new mental exercise every day. Don't assume intentions. Is that what you said? Yeah, don't assume it's him. DJ, tell us what you mean by that.
I forget who was talking about it, but we were talking about how we think someone's thinking something and we act on that, but
yes.
90% of the time we're wrong when we think we know what someone else is thinking.
Assume the best. In other words,
assume the best.
You know what? That is probably one of my most powerful takeaways from today in my experience with Catherine and that whole email situation. I just assumed she wasn't messing with me. Like, she was just blowing smoke. Like, yeah, let's do a podcast, and then doesn't answer my email. And lo and behold, I had sent the email to an address that doesn't even exist. Don't assume the worst. It happens all the time with phone calls. You call somebody, they don't answer. Oh man, what's going on? Are they mad at me? Or do they want to cancel? Don't assume the worst. There's a million different scenarios happening. Pick the good one and hold on to that. All right? It's 4:00 now. Once again, thank everybody for coming. I thank you guys. I love you guys for all the positive energy. This 1-year anniversary of Neo Positivity Thoughts Become Things Summit is absolutely amazing. It embodies everything I wanted to do, which was like a campfire type atmosphere. When I first started, it was like one person speaks, then one person speaks, then one person, and maybe after one person speaks, another person gets to chime in. But this is different. We're each chiming in after every person speaks, giving our perspective, learning from each other, spreading that good energy, just having a great time on a Saturday afternoon, which is exactly what I wanted. The next summit is going to be February 19th. It's always going to be the third Saturday of every single month. I've switched to every other month because it got kind of busy and crazy, but everything's working like a well-oiled machine now. Employees are in place, and we are rocking and rolling. Every month, you need your daily dose of law of attraction. Walt Thiessen does a show called Law of Attraction today at 4 p.m. every day. I go on there on Fridays with him as a co-host, and it's like medicine. I leave that show feeling like $1 million every single time, and it's free. I would pay for that just to feel like that. It's free. So you need a daily dose of law of attraction. Obviously, we can't do the summits every day. Maybe we'll get to the point, hopefully we'll get to the point someday where we do get to do that in different states and have so many different people on. Let's go ahead and shoot for that. But for now, it's just going to be once a month. It's going to be amazing. I love you guys. I thank you. NeoPositivity.com, NeosLOASummit.com. All the speakers, please drop your links in here so everybody knows how to find you and how to contact you and how to speak with you, which is the most important one. The group in Facebook for the summit, Neo Positivity Thoughts Become Things Summit group, is the jam. Okay, that's where you get updates on the summit. Who wouldn't want that? But that's where you also get daily interaction with other, like the Power of 8, daily interaction with other people who are going through what you're going through, which is trying to improve their mentality to improve their physicality. I'll just put it like that. All right, so once again, I love you guys. Thank you for coming. And this is it for this edition of Neo Positivity Thoughts Become Things Summit. Get your t-shirt, get your wristband, get your poker chip, change your life. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.